or visit HireASI.com. That's 844-HIRE-ASI or online at HireASI.com.
If your money is not earning at least 3.25% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 3.25% APR on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rates subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuity. A 3.25% APR return on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. You pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800 or online at plcinsurance.com.
Summer is here, and as the great John Denver sang, sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. You know what else makes me happy and makes my doctor very happy? Keeping my high blood pressure in check. 120 Life helps me do that. That's right, I drink 120 Life, the superfood juice, every day to help manage my blood pressure and keep it in check. It tastes good and is refreshing on ice. You've heard me talking about 120 Life all year long. I want you to check it out. I love it, and I know you will too. 120 Life juice drink is formulated with 6 natural ingredients that all have amazing health benefits, like beetroot, pomegranate, and cherry juice. I feel better drinking it. 120 Life comes in a convenient 8-ounce bottle that makes it easy to enjoy at work or out on the golf course. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use the coupon code DAN to save 10% on your order, plus free shipping. If for some reason 120 Life doesn't work for you, they'll give you your money back, guaranteed. 120 Life makes it simple. We need more stuff like this.
Spills happen every day in your workplace, anywhere gasoline, diesel, machine, crude, or cooking oils are used. These spills not only disrupt workflow production, but are hazardous to employees and the public. You need a team that can come in and clean up that spill and get your crew back to work and remove the ugly, unsightly stains. You need Cabino Environmental Field Services, an environmental response team to the rescue. Using sustainable, all-natural green products, they mitigate the spills and extract the stain from the pavement. The only byproduct is the used oil absorbent that gets recycled as a fuel source. This is one of the most economical, sustainable, and green ways to manage an oil spill. For stains on your residential garage floor, rooftop, patio around the barbecue, parking lot, or pavement around your fuel pumps, Cabino Environmental is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Call 815-373-5176 or click on Emergency Fuel and Oil Cleanup online at CabinoEnvironmental.com. From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Happy Election Day. Polls open in about 40 minutes. Take your calls. Give us a call all morning, too, after you go to vote, if you're one of those who votes on Election Day at your polling place. If there's any interesting happenings, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Give us a call. Tell us which races you're most interested in, which candidates have most captivated you during this primary season, whether it's for local office or for federal office, Congress, the Senate race, or, of course, the statewide offices that we spent a good bit of time discussing. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
And if there's any problems, even if your polling place isn't open at 6 a.m., because I know sometimes they have a problem getting election judges there, so we want to hear if you have any of those problems. But, yeah, today's the day, and yesterday during the day, the candidates were out, the gubernatorial GOP candidates, And look who somebody found. Somebody found Richard Irvin. He was in Peoria.
For a Republican to win in Illinois, a governor, you need Republican votes, you need independent votes, and you need Democratic crossover. I'm the only person that's going to be able to do that.
Yeah, but you're not going to win.
Well, also, I reject
People
the
found
premise. This is the argument that Richard Irvin is making, Jesse Sullivan is making at the close, because, well, what else do they have at this point? But I say again, they have not provided any data to support that position. And do you think they haven't provided it because they don't have the money to do the polling? Or because the numbers aren't there? I gave you a little bit of indication of where a general election matchup stands between Spalding and Bailey yesterday, because I did do the polling. And it's a single-digit race between Bailey and Pritzker. The generic ballot right now, Republican candidate for governor versus Democrat candidate for governor, is single digits. Low single digits, actually. Margin of error. This environment provides opportunity. I say again, for emphasis, something that you won't have Irvin or Sullivan say, which is Pritzker is no easy out for any of these candidates. And frankly, there's no evidence that any one of them is significantly better situated than anyone else in terms of a general election matchup. There's no evidence to support that claim. And none has been presented. I'm the only one who's presented any sort of general election picture as we stand here today. There's opportunity, but Pritzker will be a tough out. Obviously, Illinois trending as it has to oblivion for the last 30 years. You don't just snap it back like that.
Right, but you need help from fellow Republicans. And Jim Edgar is not
I don't
that
care about
person.
Jim Edgar. I don't care about Jim Edgar
Well,
because
people listen to
you
him.
don't need help from Jim Edgar.
Oh,
I'm tired
not
of listening to
helping.
Jim Edgar. That's who the Chicago Press Corps wants you to listen to is Jim Edgar. That's who
That's
the
the only person
Springfield.
they interview.
Exactly because that's who they want you to listen to. That's who the Springfield Press Corps wants you to listen to. I'm not interested in listening to Jim Edgar. And by the way, neither is any Republican. The only people that are interested in listening to what Jim Edgar has to say, Mr. Tax Increase, Mr. Pension Ramp, Mr. J.B. Pritzker debate prep person in 2018, is the press corps. And I'm not interested in being another toady for the Chicago and Springfield press corps. Who cares what Jim Edgar has to say? That should be the response from any self-respecting center-right voter in this state. Go away, Jim Edgar. Go enjoy your gambling money. Go enjoy your 7-figure pension. Leave us alone. Let's focus on the future rather than trying to look to our future in the rearview mirror as we've done for so long. Jim Edgar. That's comical. The way that you win is not the standard issue pap you hear from Richard Irvin, who's just a hack trying to remember what
They found
lines to
him.
recite.
Yeah. He came out of
Well,
hiding.
you need some Republicans, you need some independents, you need some Democrat crossover. Wow, brilliant. It's bigger than that.
Soft Democrats, they call them.
You need completely the wrong framework. You need to stoke a revolt against the bipartisan combine ruling class in Springfield. That's what you need to do. Now, that's an easy thing to say, and it's a more difficult thing to do, and there's nuance to it. But that's what has to happen if you want a conservative reform government, and if you want Bailey, who's going to be the nominee after tonight, to win in November. If you don't, you don't. Fine. But that's the path. And by the way, it would have been the path for any of these candidates. The problem is, much like Trump in 2016, I would argue, the person you think, some think, the person some think that is the worst matchup for Pritzker is the only person who can beat Pritzker in this race, I would argue.
Yeah, that's why they propped him up.
That's why they propped who up?
Bailey. I mean,
Because they think he's the
Pritzker-
only candidate that can beat Pritzker?
No, they think that he can't beat Pritzker,
Right.
so let's prove them wrong that he can.
John in Portage Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you about an experience I had with voting. I was the poll watcher, getting everybody's information, giving them the ballot, that stuff, kind of stuff, for the 45th Ward, 11th Precinct, Portage Park, Chicago. And anyhow, we had a double polling place with 2 precincts in one location. I also want to say that I was a poll watcher for 3 cycles before that.
Okay.
So I just want to see. But I noticed people going into in the other precinct. I noticed the poll watcher, the head poll watcher over there going into the voting box and with people like that were obviously mentally impaired, kind of telling them how to vote. And so anyhow, after the election was over, I called up the Illinois election people and I called up the Republican Party and I told them this, and I was never asked again to be a poll watcher.
Okay.
And now they're like begging for poll watchers. They still don't ask me to be a poll watcher, and I just don't trust the Illinois election system with anything. And that's my election day story.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Mike, Plano.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm getting ready to vote here in a little bit. Out here in District 14, I'm glad you guys interviewed Mike Coolidge. I thought he did a great job, and I saw him on Fox News this morning, so I'm glad he's getting some name recognition. And I hope he beats Scott Greider. Now, I will vote for Scott if he wins in the general, but I just don't like the people that are supporting him. He was out here at my local golf course with Sue Resin and Randy Hulkran, a couple establishment combine people. Plus, he gave a less than impressive interview with you guys last week. But one last thing. Oh yeah, in the state rep race out here is David Welter, who's an incumbent Rhino, taking on Jed Davis. I'm really hoping Jed pulls off.
I'm hoping Jed Davis wins too. David Welter should be turned out.
Yeah, he's pro-life, but pro-lockdown, pro-bailout, and a number of other things. And and one last thing I wanted to say to you is one of the best debates I heard was between you and Pat Brady at the City Club of Chicago. You did 2 of them. The first one was the best because it was before the 2018 midterms, and you made a stark contrast between him and the rest of the Combine Republicans, whose goal is to simply win elections, and that's it. And you, whose job is to not only win elections, but actually advance conservative reform. And it just angers me that people like you, Steve Cortez, and others who are actually interested in reform are blocked from having any influence in the party, because people like me want more voices like you. It's hard for me to get motivated to vote in this state for Republicans.
Thanks for the
Well,
call,
you're making
Mike.
a good choice
Appreciate
not
it.
voting for Scott Greider, because remember, too, he's one campaign chair for Richard Irvin.
Yeah, I like Scott.
Don't forget about that.
Yeah, I like. I'm with Mike in Plano. I like Mike Coolidge in the 14th. Marvin in Burlington.
Yeah, good morning. I know I'm a Wisconsinite, and I'm just hoping that Illinois, being from Illinois and living there most of my life, I just hope they don't go backward and please go forward. And remember what this man did and all his dictates during COVID. Remember all the executive orders that were above the law that he did. This man, the only thing he's done is buy a governorship in his whole life. That's the only thing this billionaire trust fund baby's accomplished
Pretty much.
outside of being a tax cheat. And it's really a disgrace. And this guy should be nowhere near decision making for the vast majority of people. And I think Darren Bailey's from the downstate. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly what we need in Illinois, and I pray that we get some downstate common sense. People who do something for a living, and not just feed off their future or their earlier generations money making machine. It's please, Illinois.
We're still under emergency.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Appreciate it.
All right,
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Rich Irvin does not seem to understand how hard the taxpayers work for the money.
That's former Aurora Alderman Rick Lawrence, who wants you to know what he knows about Mayor Richard Irvin. So does real estate developer Dan Heitz, who said Aurora businesses needed Richard Irvin to stand with them against Pritzker's shutdown, but Irvin stood with Pritzker instead, says Heitz.
He followed Pritzker's lead, and he didn't stand up for the people of Aurora. He stood up for big government and big governor.
When Aurora residents needed Richard Irvin to protect them from rioters, Irvin stood with Black Lives Matter, according to Alderman Rick Lawrence.
Our police were told to stand down.
Dan Heitz remembers.
Basically, Richard Irvin dropped the ball. Protesters started rioting and burning. Police just standing there watching.
Richard Irvin stood with a governor who locked down Illinois and rioters who burned down his own city. It's time for Illinois conservatives to stand up and vote no on Richard Irvin.
If anybody confuses Rich Irvin with a conservative, they really didn't do their homework.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I have something more horrified to think about than even a second Pritzker term.
Okay, and later, Dan's Angels.
At 5:38. Well, the scary thing is at 5:38.
Okay.
Scary thing. Think of something that conjures, that
chills up my spine.
Yeah, I mean,
makes me nauseous.
Sleepless nights thinking about this at 5:38.
All right. And now let's head into the newsroom. Mike Scott, who's going to be having electric election coverage tonight at 7 p.m.
Shall we break out in a course of electric company tonight?
I know. Words are hard. Our golf tournament was a boondoggle yesterday. So
we'll hear about that. 62 degrees at 5:32. It is Election Day for the Illinois primary. Polls open at 6 a.m. Open until 7 p.m. tonight. Illinois residents can register to vote at their polling place today. AM 560 will have coverage of returns and candidate reaction tonight beginning after the polls close. 46 migrants are dead, another 16 injured after being found inside of a big rig truck in San Antonio, Texas. 3 are in custody connected with the incident. Temperatures were around 100 outside, 120 degrees inside the trailer of that truck. President Biden's chief hostage negotiator headed for a U.S. delegation in Caracas, Venezuela. It's the administration's latest bid to gain the release of 3 Americans held there. 2 were freed in March after a visit by administration officials. U.S. troops will be staying in Poland a bit longer. NBC News reporting 2 former administration officials saying the president will make that announcement while in Europe this week for the NATO's security summit. Here in Chicago, a Cicero teen is charged in a deadly shooting from last November. State police saying a man was killed in a shooting on November 18th along I-55. Following an investigation, a man was arrested June 6th and charged with murder. Over the weekend, a 17-year-old was also arrested and charged in that shooting. That 17-year-old is being held without bond at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. At least 3 are dead after an Amtrak train derailed in Missouri after hitting a dump truck on Monday. Dr. Jeffrey Kognauer is with the University of Missouri Healthcare.
2 of the patients required immediate operation after their initial assessment here in our emergency department. And then we've had 1 patient who had fatal injuries in our emergency department.
The train originated from L.A. and was on its way here to Chicago. A Fox News analyst is mourning the death of his younger brother in Chicago last week. Gianno Caldwell announced on social media over the weekend that his teen brother was murdered on the South Side. Christian Caldwell was killed in a shooting that wounded 2 others Friday in the Morgan Park neighborhood. Angels over the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim. Noah Syndergaard with his first win in a month. Ronaldo Lopez, the loss for the White Sox. Cubs host the Reds tonight at Wrigley. Blackhawks named their new head coach. Luke Richardson was hired as the franchise's 40th head coach. The 53-year-old was a defenseman for the Oilers and Flyers over 21 years in the NHL. Spent the last 4 seasons as an assistant coach with the Canadiens. The News is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets. Join today. 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
With America in crisis and lies abounding everywhere, we thought it was a good time to provide the antidote. That's why this radio station partnered with the all-new Salem News Channel. All the hosts you've come to know and trust on this station are right there on TV. Same great lineup, only now you get to watch as well as listen. Download the app on your Apple or Android device. Watch us on Roku or on SalemNewsChannel.com. On the radio, we're right here. On TV, we're right there. SNC is the antidote to the mainstream media.
Next time you're in the office, look around and see the paper accumulating and the filing cabinets taking up space waiting to be filled. You want the paper gone, but dread the time-consuming scanning process? Well, with IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's never been easier to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud. The need for PCs, cables, and tedious application software is eliminated. Anyone can set this device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money, valuable time, and the hassle associated with IT. Remote employees can capture documents and send them seamlessly. This technology is adaptable to any environment and uses a hotspot without compromising security. If your goal is to organize documents efficiently and securely, IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT is for you. To see a demo or order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
When it comes to the dentist, how often do you hear,
"I'm really looking forward to my dentist appointment tomorrow. Can't wait."
or is it more like this?
Oh, no, I have a dental appointment coming up. I'm so dreading it. I hate going to the dentist.
For an experience at the dentist that's more like going to a spa, meet Dr. Luma at North Shore Dental Group. Preventative and cosmetic dentistry for the entire family. With luxurious and comfortable open bays and private rooms, you'll feel relaxed and forget you're at the dentist. Dr. Luma uses laser surgery when needed for less pain, faster recovery time, and quicker healing. And she's an expert in implant dentistry. All part of the state-of-the-art, stress-free, and welcoming experience at North Shore Dental Group, Northwest Highway in Park Ridge. Dr. Luma is accepting new patients now, and for a limited time, new patient exams with full mouth x-rays are only $59.99. Call 847-292-8200 or Google Dr. Luma. That's L-U-M-A. North Shore Dental Group. A lifetime of healthy smiles.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, they've helped families set their legacies in stone for over 180 years. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
Big news! Greta Van Susteren is back, and she's on Newsmax. Tune into Newsmax at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight to watch The Record with Greta Van Susteren and get the real news. Plus, check out the new lineup of Rob Schmidt, Eric Bowling, and more. Newsmax is on all major cable and streaming platforms. If your cable system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them and demand it. And download the free Newsmax app on your phone. Make the switch to Newsmax today.
This station is supported by Simple Green and simplegreen.com.
5:39, quick check on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Accident on the entrance ramp to Wilson Avenue outbound on the Edens has just been cleared out of your way, and the residual delays on the outbound Edens are melting away right now. Stevenson inbound, tap of the brakes, Ashland into the Dan Ryan. I-57, Will County, northbound between Stunkel and Sauk Trail, stop-and-go traffic this morning. Bishop Ford, an accident just cleared outbound at 115. Traffic, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7 around the clock all day, every day. Listen now, danamy247.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny, another great day. 85 for a high temp. There could be a brief shower around late in the evening. Low around 66. And a warmer day tomorrow with clouds giving way to some sunshine and a high near 86. 62 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. More frightening than a second Pritzker term as Illinois governor.
What? You're scaring me.
How about this scenario? How about a bunch of septuagenarian and octogenarian socialists walking around Evanston with nothing but their Birkenstocks on and their droobies, slapping all over the place.
What's a droopy?
A droopy boobie.
Oh, pancake boobs? You call them droopy boobies?
A droopy.
I've never heard that before. Oh, yeah, there is an alderman, Devin Reed, who's now going to be taking over the Human Services Committee in Evanston, and he wants to decriminalize a range of behaviors, but one of them is, yes, for non-breastfeeding women to show their breastises below the top of the nipple in public. Mike Scott told us about this story, and he's, this could happen, though. It really could. We're laughing about it, but this
Making
is a
the change, Alderman Reed said, could afford greater liberties to those in the trans and non-binary communities who don't necessarily fall into the cisgender male or female mold. I don't think our current ordinance is narrowly tailored, because what is so inherently sexualized about the female body that is not inherently sexualized about the male body? I think we just really need to get clear on what the law is. By the way, if the change would be adopted, it wouldn't just lead to polluting the beaches of Evanston with these disgusting people in their natural state.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be limited to that. It
Well,
would
you
be
can walk around Evanston
be
like that?
lifted throughout the city. Yeah.
So you can go to Northwestern and be
not just for the
topless.
topless sunbathing. Well, sure, why not? Yeah.
Would Northwestern enact their own rules if this passes?
Northwestern is not its own unit of government.
Okay.
So, yeah, they have to comply with local and state laws, as I understand it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636DA, turnkey.pro, text line. The plan, I believe, it was tabled earlier this month, but it has, I guess, generating renewed debate and interest because, of course, this is the high holy month of Pride. And so wouldn't it be wonderful, with an eye towards the trans and non-binary communities, to let, men walk around with their boobies showing?
Or ladies. Well, and it's, unequal standard between the two genders. So if you can walk around with your shirt off at the beach, why can't I?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But this guy's a little cray-cray because there's some other things he wants. He wants people to use city parks overnight, To throw rocks at buildings and people. Let that sink in. To be in possession of burglars' tools, that it's not illegal to be in possession of those tools.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing with those burglars? There's nothing.
Just walking around, just getting my bicep, tricep working.
The one council member in Evanston, Eleanor Ravel. The question is, men and women are not the same with respect to the traditional understanding of what constitutes nudity. Oh, you don't say. I'm not willing to approve this until I know we've got community support for what this could mean. Well,
let me tell you, sister, what this means is you're going to become you'll be a nude beach. Everyone will go to Evanston for the nude beach.
It'll be a topless beach.
Oh, but then that just morphs into taking the panties off. Come on.
I'd like, boy.
Yeah.
That is really something to contemplate. I'd like people to come to our beaches because they want to enjoy our beaches for the natural resource that it is, rather than coming because it's a topless beach. I don't think anybody is going to be coming to the Evanston beaches because it's a topless beach. Like, I can't wait, unless you're, a voyeur for, voyeuristic interests. But
or a teenage boy in high school, they'll be flocking up there.
Right, because it's going to be like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot on that beach. No, I don't think so.
But
it's going to be a bunch of disgusting, fat, socialist.
No. Well, okay.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. I don't know if you've been to Evanston recently. That is what it's going to be.
I should familiarize myself with Evanston. Well, during the pandemic, when our beaches were closed,
and if the bottoms come off, it's going to be a bunch of people walking around looking like they got Dr. J in a scissor lock. And I mean Dr. J, Virginia Squires Dr. J, not Philadelphia 76ers Dr. J.
Well, during the pandemic, everybody went to Evanston Beach. And some people still go back there because they enjoyed themselves.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think you do either. Everybody went to Evanston Beach. What are you talking about?
For 2 summers, the beaches were closed.
Yeah.
And Evanston Beach was open, so everybody...
Were you there?
Yes, of course I was
really?
there.
And what was there? What was it like?
A
And how
bunch
many
of high
people?
schoolers, a bunch of... not everybody was fat and gross, okay?
Yeah, I'm sure.
They weren't.
Yeah, I'm sure. Fine. All your hot Lakeview friends and their kids went up there for one summer and then been retreated back to the city. And now it's back to being, a bunch of Bernie bros. And I'm talking about the women up there roaming around. The hell out of here. John in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. My wife and I were down at St. Martin at Orient Beach, and we figured out the people that are there are people you don't want to see there.
Of course. I mean, did you see the naked bike ride this weekend through the city of Chicago? We do that too. Apparently, there is an ordinance, but apparently, these sorts of things don't get enforced. They don't get enforced for that Caligula display on the north side every year, and they don't get enforced for the naked bike ride, at least where my friends saw it. Thankfully, I didn't have to witness it, was through Old Town. I showed you a picture.
You showed me the picture. They weren't that large, those people that you showed me a picture of.
Yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see a bunch of guys on bikes.
Where
nude.
were the women?
With their jewels hanging around the chain. I mean, are you kidding?
I know, only in Chicago. Well, they start at Wrigley Field. It's a midnight naked ride. And then they go through Old Town.
Why?
But they're allowed to do, I don't know.
Right.
Because there's different rules for different people. And also, if you call a cop, good luck getting a cop. Especially this weekend. Constant sirens.
I'm afraid to take this call, but I'm going to take it anyway. Okay. Dennis in Crystal Lake.
Hey, Amy and Dan.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you, this naked beach is the worst idea ever. When I was 10 years old, we lived with my grandma, and she was born in 1896, and she made Buford Pusser look like a kindergarten teacher. And I had to sneak in there, and when I heard her coming with her walker, I hid in the closet. And I was in there so long, I thought she might have fell asleep. So I opened the door and went to leave, and she was sitting on the side of the bed with her top off and her crubies were hanging all the way down to her ankles. And I'm telling you, I got to have therapy to this day to get over that.
Yeah.
Well, they do hang,
That's
especially
not
after
counting
time.
the YMCA. That's not counting the YMCA with the guys, the old men that had their sacks hanging down to their knees.
Okay. All right. Let's. Well, that's probably not.
I got to tell you, the men's locker rooms thing, I don't understand it. I don't understand. I'm too old to go diving into that. Fine. You don't have to dive anywhere. Just put something over yourself. I mean, just to have some humility. That's what this is.
That
Decency.
generation was raised where they didn't wear swimsuits. It's in swim class. My dad went to Lane Tech and they swam naked. They made them swim naked.
Yeah, I understand. I don't think that was
all boys school.
I don't think that was a great policy. But
No.
regardless,
well, thank you,
regardless,
Dad.
it's also it's something categorically, just categorically, keep your clothes on. I mean,
I know. I hate. Don't think it's not happening in the women's locker room either.
What? What's that?
People are walking around naked and just
strutting their stuff.
What are you doing?
Well,
it's a thing.
Yeah. Well, think about going. Does the Arlington Hotel still exist? Think about going into the lobby of the Arlington Hotel in Evanston and getting whacked in the face when you come through the revolving door. Yeah. Hello.
Get a lot of these off.
That's definitely when you're going to need to bring those idiot circles back to keep everybody 6 feet apart.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
I'm Attorney General candidate David Shostokis, asking for your vote in the Republican primary June 28th and your support to make crime illegal again. The Attorney General's first duty is to represent the people, and I will with your vote. I bring the following experience and values to the office. As an assistant state's attorney, more than 400 felony and 10,000 misdemeanor prosecutions. My opponents have none. Election integrity defense in Illinois, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Florida. My opponents scoff at election integrity. Religious liberty defense for churches declared non-essential. My opponents have no such record. I'm the only fully pro-life Attorney General candidate. I have the only plan to void the unconstitutional FOID card. I have the only plan to prosecute cases ignored by Kim Foxx and others to make crime illegal again. You can give the Attorney General's office back to the people by voting for me, David Shostokis.
Paid for by Committee to Elect David Shostokis.
My name is David Hochberg. If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan, or reverse mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Juan, married, 3 kids, called to refinance his 6% mortgage and pay off the outstanding balance of his Chapter 13 bankruptcy with an FHA loan. Team Hochberg loan officer Jose Rodriguez helped Juan combine his outstanding bankruptcy balance into a new FHA loan and lowered his payments close to $500 a month. Let's review. Before calling, Juan was struggling to pay his monthly bills. After calling Team Hochberg, Juan refinanced his outstanding Chapter 13 bankruptcy into an FHA loan and reduced his payments close to $6,000 a year. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners pay off a bankruptcy with an FHA loan, but we can't help if you don't call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com, 855-563-2843, or our website, 56david.com. Homeside Financial Equal Housing Lender, MLS 1124061.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Chuck Spaveri, CEO of Spaveri's Custom Counters, a Chicagoland manufacturer of residential and commercial countertops. If there's a local commercial bank who knows how to get a deal done, it's Signature Bank. When my brother and I needed it, Signature Bank came through with a creative financing solution. That's because Signature Bank has experience working with companies like ours, a second-generation, family-owned and operated manufacturer. Our business matters to Signature Bank, and that comes through in every visit and every phone call with their team, right up to the bank's co-founders, Kevin, Mick, and Brian. Spaveri's is proud to bank with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You've worked hard your entire life to provide for yourself and family, but the one thing you can provide them that will last forever is your legacy. For over 180 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago in helping them set their legacies in stone. With interest-free financing and low monthly payments, now is the time to set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 today to schedule a free consultation.
The following is a paid political announcement.
What are you watching? Those governor candidates accusing each other. It's awful. I've done my research and I'm voting for Gary Rabine. Gary Rabine talks about real issues, slashing property taxes, loosening restrictions on businesses, and supporting law enforcement. Rabine built one of America's largest paving companies from scratch.
I'm Gary Rabine. I can and will beat Pritzker. Let's turn Illinois around. It's Rabine time.
Paid for by Rabine for governor.
One of the things we have learned in the past year, technology is a must. You must have good data and cell service inside your building. Do you have bad service? Let's fix that. This is Kelly Piles. My company is PC Net Services. We fix that bad data and cellular connection inside your building and stop the complaints. It's not as complicated as you might think, but it does make a difference. We work with all major cellular carriers and data communications companies across the nation. We can improve your cellular and data signal in your building with every carrier. No more dropped calls, no more complaints. First responders, firefighters, and government agencies have used us to create a better cellular signal inside their building. We could do the same for you. A veteran-owned company, PC Net Services, connecting you to the world.
Get better cell service in your building, no matter which carrier. For a free analysis, call PC Net Services, 815-545-4439. 815-545-4439.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy talking about the forthcoming lifting of the prohibition against toplessness for women in Evanston. So topless beaches, topless restaurants, topless Northwestern. By the way, speaking of Northwestern, of course, how did I forget this?
What?
Would Northwestern go along with this? Northwestern is sex toy university.
Oh,
Northwestern
that's
has
right.
students performing coitus on Sheridan Road. Of course they go along with it. Chris and Carrie.
Hey, Dan and Amy. I stumbled, it was 16 or 17 years old when I stumbled upon one in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Let me tell you, all those scenarios that played out in my head when I was that age went out the window. It was
Yeah,
like the
you
movie,
didn't.
Remember the movie The Shining when the lady gets out of the bathtub? It was like everyone looked like that.
Yeah. No Bo Derricks to be found, huh? All right. Chris in Elmwood Park.
Hi, Dan. Do you have any place I can go to look for who you recommend to vote for in Maine Township?
And you can just ask me right here. Which races?
I'm in Maine Township for the Board of Review, 2nd District.
Podgorski.
Ninth
Even though Podgorski made a terrible decision in supporting Richard Irvin and a cowardly one, I would still say Podgorski for that Cook County board seat.
Okay, and what about the Board of Review, 2nd District?
Refresh my recollection on the candidates.
I don't know. This is just what's on my list on my voting thing.
All right.
Board of Review.
All right, hold on. I got to take a look. I don't remember offhand, but I'll
Catch us on the other side of the break.
I'll take a look at that, and hold on. I'll get you an answer in a second.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, SCOTUS weighs in on Coach Kennedy and prayer after a football game. We'll tackle the decision at 6:06.
And later, meet Dan's Angels. We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom for news here at home and around the world. And Mike Scott, you're going to have a busy day and a busy evening with Election Day. And it would help if they turned on your mic.
It would
there
help.
You are.
There we are.
Hi.
Illinois primary election day is set. Polls open in just a few moments across the state. Cicero teen charged in a deadly expressway shooting. 2 more boys have died after a West Side fire. A 3 are dead after an Amtrak train bound for Chicago derails in Missouri. The Bulls are hoping to keep Zach LaVine, and the Blackhawks named Luke Richardson as coach. WIND Chicago News Time. It's 6 o'clock.
Dozens of migrants dead in the back of a truck. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 46 bodies found in an 18-wheeler on a hot day in San Antonio, Texas, along with 16 survivors taken to hospitals.
The patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion, no signs of water.
Fire Chief Charles Hood.
The discovery is believed to be a part of a human smuggling operation. Officials have not clarified if the individuals migrated from Mexico or another country. The San Antonio police chief says 3 people are in custody, and this is now a federal investigation.
That's Fox's Matt Finn. An Amtrak train hit a dump truck on the tracks at a rural crossing in Missouri, killing 3 people, 2 of them on the train.
It was pretty scary.
She and other passengers were thrown when the train from L.A. to Chicago derailed. The cars flipped onto their sides.
There was an employee that she was bleeding pretty good, and then there was another woman that had a cut on her head.
In all, about 40 people ended up in hospitals. A police officer is at a Nashville hospital after being shot at a traffic stop in Erin, Tennessee last night by a man who then ran into the woods, police going after him. An officer in Charlotte, North Carolina was shot in the leg early this morning responding to a disturbance. The injury is considered not life-threatening. Police do not have a suspect in custody there. President Biden's on his way from one summit to the other, heading to a NATO gathering in Spain after wrapping up meetings with world leaders in the Alps.
They were on the sidelines of the G7 meeting where there had been talks on making Russia pay a higher price for its invasion of Ukraine. They've also been talking about trying to alleviate a global hunger crisis. Much of that crisis comes from Russia's blockade of Ukrainian grain.
Fox's Jill Nato. The Democrat-led House committee investigating last year's Capitol riot has another hearing today with a new witness and evidence. Multiple reports say a former aide to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will testify. America's list.
Skies are sunny. Well, clear skies surround much of this day. 60 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. It's Election Day for the Illinois primary. Polls are opening and will remain open until 7 tonight, and you can, in Illinois, register to vote at your polling place. AM 560 will have coverage of returns and candidate reaction tonight, beginning after the polls close. Illinois voters are laying out critical issues, driving them to the polls, not just in Tuesday's primary, but toward the November general election. Protesters in Chicago over the weekend marched in the streets reacting to Friday's U.S. Supreme Court ruling sending the issue of abortion back to state governments. Saturday at a rally for former President Donald Trump near Quincy, several voters said their issues range from the economy and gas prices to securing Second Amendment rights, border security, and election integrity. A Florida man is dead after rescuing a girl at a beach in northwest Indiana. First responders were called out yesterday to Porter Beach on a report of 2 struggling in the water. Thomas Kenning noticed a girl in distress in Lake Michigan. He reached that juvenile and helped her to safety before going under and not resurfacing. 2 more boys are dead following a severe fire on the west side over the weekend. The blaze broke out early Sunday in the basement of a home in the 4000 block of West Potomac. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office revealed 6-year-old Jaden Cruz and 11-year-old Angel Rodriguez died from their injuries yesterday. Indiana's Attorney General wants a court in that state to allow all of the state's abortion laws to go into effect. AG Todd Rokita yesterday asked the court to lift injunctions on Indiana's ban on selective abortions, a ban on dismemberment, and the state's parental notification law. Angels edged by the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim. Cubs returning home to face a division rival. They'll host the Reds tonight at Wrigley Field. Blackhawks naming their new head coach, Luke Richardson, who spent the past 4 seasons as an assistant with the Canadiens. The news, a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. 6:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The agenda of the fascist Marxist mafia of the Democrats is completely and totally unconstitutional. And the audacity of these idiots, leveraging private companies to tell them how to produce and where to invest. If these companies had any backbone at all, they would shut this damn country down to its knees.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is it. Your last chance to win the new $15 million prize of a lifetime from Publishers Clearinghouse. Today is the last day to enter to win $15 million on June 30th. So you must enter at PCH.com before it's too late. $15 million, all for you. But time is running out, so enter now at PCH.com. The $15 million prize of a lifetime. Don't miss your last chance to win it this June 30th. Final day to enter at PCH.com. Entries due 6/28. No purchase necessary. Prize paid at least $390,000 annually. Void or prohibited.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with expertise and tools with Windows 11 to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. To do more with a Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm sleeping better. I wake up better. I was so groggy all the time. I didn't want to get up. When I wake up, I'm awake. I've got more energy. It's with my situation. I had 2 surgeries a year ago within 3 months. I had a hip replaced and a major back surgery. The circumstances where the surgeries were close together, and they knocked me down pretty good. And I'm feeling much stronger now. I just bought a bicycle, ready to start getting back into shape because I have the energy to do so.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads this morning. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Edens is fine. Outbound side has recovered from an earlier accident, and it's 14 minutes outbound to Lake Cook Road. Kennedy inbound 18 to the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound 27 to the Old Post Office. Stevenson in from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. In 30 minutes, outbound Stevenson flip trip to the Tri-State in 16. Dan Ryan inbound, you'll hit the brakes between Roosevelt and the Burns Circle interchange. I-57 jams up in the construction zone northbound between Stunkel and Sauk Trail. Traffic, a service of Salem Surround, providing your business with industry-leading digital marketing strategies. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Sunshine today, the high at 85. Partly cloudy, some rain tonight, low 66. For tomorrow, clouds and sun, high 85. Sunny to partly cloudy, breezy, a hot day on Thursday, the high at 92. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
We're down to 60 officially at O'Hare, and your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Big week for the High Court from overturning a unconstitutional gun law in New York to overturning one of the worst decisions in Supreme Court history in Roe v. Wade, to now protecting not only the right of conscience enshrined in the First Amendment, but also overturning the silly Lemon test from a Supreme Court case, Lemon v. Kurtzman, from 50 years ago. No, actually 52 years ago. The Supreme Court has done it again. This is the case that we've talked about intermittently since Washington State football coach Joe Kennedy was fired from Bremerton High School in Washington State for praying privately after football games. Just to refresh your recollection, Kennedy would pray for 15 to 30 seconds on the 50-yard line at the end of football games to offer a silent or quiet prayer of thanksgiving for player safety, sportsmanship, and spirited competition. Initially, he prayed quietly and alone. After several games, some students took notice and joined him voluntarily.
And some students from other teams, from the opposing team, would join him voluntarily.
I mean, it's sort of like what you see at the NFL level when
Right,
players
exactly.
get together.
They just don't put it on
And
TV.
coaches. Kennedy, when players joined, Kennedy would offer short motivational speeches to players, ending with a brief prayer. Sometimes no players gathered, and he prayed alone. He did this for 7 years without a complaint.
And then somebody complained.
Somebody complained. Then they said, stop involving students. Then they said, stop doing it yourself. And when Kennedy refused, he was fired. Justice Gorsuch, writing for the majority, the Constitution neither mandates nor tolerates this kind of discrimination for engaging in a brief, quiet, personal religious observance. I won't shepherdize the Lemon v. Kurtzman case, but we can certainly go over it in pertinent part if you want. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Remember, why is this important if you're not religious? Well, it's important if you're not. I think it should be obvious if you are, but if you're not, it's important because what are those rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights? They're restraints against government encroachment. And so those lines you want to be as bright as they possibly can be, because we should by now have a pretty good understanding of the mindset of the government when it comes to encroaching in areas where they do not exercise particular power, where they do not have dominion. The High Court focused on two questions: whether a public school employee who says a brief, quiet prayer by himself while at school and visible to students is engaged in government speech that lacks any First Amendment protection, and whether, assuming such religious expression is private and protected, the Establishment Clause nevertheless compels public schools to prohibit it. And they found that it was protected speech, not government speech, that lacks First Amendment protection. Protected private speech, and there is no Establishment Clause violation here. So that also goes for other government school employees or government employees generally who want to have a private, reflective moment in exercise of their conscience. And to know, because Coach Joe Kennedy stood up, that you can do that, and if some ill-informed colleague suggests that this is some sort of establishment of a state religion, you know that's not the case. You know that you're well within your bounds because the Supreme Court has so decreed. Joe Kennedy wrote, I suppose fighting is just a part of who I am. I grew up on the streets and seemed to always find a way into a fight somewhere. Thankfully, the Marine Corps allowed me to fight for something that truly mattered, our freedom. Every American deserves someone to fight for them, for their freedom, and I was proud to do so. When I got out of the Corps, I hoped I would find a new team to fight alongside. I didn't know that would be as a high school football coach. In high school, I was too small to play football. And there were plenty of other coaches far more qualified to chart the X's and O's than me, but I quickly learned to love my guys, the players I was honored to coach. Some of them reminded me of myself, angry at the world, hungry for a meal, needing a safe place to sleep that night, and perhaps a new pair of shoes without holes in them. When they got in trouble at home, school, or even with the law, I could relate. Someone needed to fight for them, too. Not everyone has agreed with my fight in this case. That's okay. The American ideal of freedom is strong enough for us to disagree and still love each other as Americans. But we should all agree that no one should be fired from their job just because someone can be seen engaged in a private prayer. Fights leave scars, too. As a boxer and mixed martial arts fighter, my nose took a beating from bouts in the ring and octagon. The pain in this case came from the scars it has left on those closest to me. My wife and kids have taken the brunt of it. When my case started, my kids were still attending the school where I coached, and my wife was the school district's director of human resources. It hurt all of us to go through this, but we did it together. My players, too, felt the pain. For some of them, it meant they had no one to stand beside them on their senior night after the district banned me from the field. Why didn't I give up the fight? There's no way that I could. I pushed my guys on the field to never stop fighting until the whistle blew, to always give it everything they had until the last down. I simply could not give up my fight to compromise the commitment I made to God and keep their respect on the field. I had to keep fighting. In every fight, someone loses. Too many times in the last 7 years, I've had one question haunt me. What if I lose? Not only would that mean I would never be back on the football field, but it meant that my case might mean other coaches and teachers could lose their job. Worse, a small part of the Constitution I swore to defend in the Marine Corps would be weakened, not because of a fight I lost on the battlefield, but in a courtroom. Thankfully, though, this fight is won. I hope it means that our public school teachers and coaches don't have to hide their faith from view. For my part, I can't wait to get back to the field, to be with my guys, pushing them to be the best players they can be, to give everything they have for every second of every game. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. It's not going to get the fanfare or attention of the Dobbs case, obviously. But it's an important case because not only because you have a constitutional right that's at stake here, because it also speaks to sort of what kind of society we want to be. And these minders that are not authorized, not sanctioned by any government to lord over us, but feel empowered to do so because of the culture. This is where you start to take your society back and return it to being a freer one, with cases like Joe Kennedy. And people like Joe Kennedy are stepping up to say, no, I'll go through this.
Can he get his job back at the school?
I think he's going to get his job back. Yeah, I think he's going to get his job back.
Good. Well, he should.
If he wants it. Or they can, I don't know. Come to some sort of separation agreement, but the United States Supreme Court just ruled that they fired him illegitimately. So he's in a pretty strong position, I'd suggest. But it's bigger than that. Trying to silence speech you don't like. That's what this really is. And you do it under the auspices of the separation clause. I mean, we see this all the time. The left bastardizing the law to silence political opponents. And that's what the school district tried to do in this case. Make no mistake about it. And the Supreme Court said no.
But it's just weird because we've been, when we would play East St. Louis in football, they would all meet in the 50-yard line and say a prayer after the game. And their coach would like, look at this facility here, and this is a wonderful place, and we are so grateful to you, God, for being here. Because I remember listening to his prayer, just watching. I thought, that's fine. And nobody complained back then, but now everybody complains about everything. Everyone's a victim.
Well, again here.
And I hope the whole world, all of every American heard about the Supreme Court ruling.
The matter here is this, this separation of church and state that people run around making false claims under, and that's not the language in the First Amendment, in the Establishment Clause. Establishing a national religion, which means you are not compelled to expunge any expression of religiosity from the public square. Quite the contrary. And again, this has been made clearer thanks to this conservative originalist majority on the court by formally discarding the Lemon test from Lemon v. Kurtzman, which was effectively discarded a while ago. Sandra on the highway, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. I tried looking yesterday, but what was the decision on it? Was that 6-3?
6-3.
And Kagan and Sotomayor, I think they're communists. They're always like voting against common sense things. Do they even understand? I don't understand even their dissent. I don't know if you read it. If I have time this week, I'd like to read it, but I don't understand these women who vote like this. It's like communism.
Thanks for the call, Sandra. Yeah, I mean,
do they have religion or God in their life? I don't know.
Yeah, well, this was Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor. Remember Breyer still voting on some of these matters because he heard oral arguments, so this is not the newly minted Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson quite yet. Ketanji Jackson Brown.
Ketanji.
No, Ketanji Brown Jackson. KBJ, right? Yeah, KBJ.
Not to be confused with
ACB.
KJP, the
What?
new press secretary. What's her?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
KJP.
Right, and not to be confused with ACB, Amy Coney Barrett.
Or AOC.
Or RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Or DAN. Got it?
A lot here. Anyway, all right, I think after that we should take a break.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement. Some secrets are dangerous. Just ask Commissioner Sean Morrison. Morrison worked with a local sex offender, a man with dark secrets. Sean Morrison's employee preyed on children. Here's the most troubling part. Sean Morrison vouched for that pedophile. He asked a judge to let the pedophile travel out of state. The judge trusted Morrison and let the pedophile travel. Then, that criminal went straight to Colorado and targeted a new victim, a 15-year-old girl. That judge shouldn't have trusted Sean Morrison, and neither should we. Who can we trust?
Meet Liz Gorman. She's someone we can trust. As our former Cook County Commissioner, Liz Gorman led the repeal of the county sales tax. With runaway inflation and spending run amok, that experience matters. Liz Gorman. She's someone we can trust. Vote Liz Gorman in the 17th District.
Paid for by Liz for the 17th.
And by the way, just to Sandra on the highway's question about Sotomayor's dissent, joined by Kagan and Breyer, she basically just made a traditional Establishment Clause argument that this was an official-led prayer that's in violation of the Establishment Clause, tending to establish a national religion, a state-sponsored religion, which is absurd, but that's the argument she made. She makes lots of absurd arguments.
Do you know you have a cobweb on your hat? Can I?
No, I didn't know that.
You see it? No, you just knocked it off.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't have a spider under there.
That's how
some eggs.
That's how old and crusty I am. Thank you.
Never seen that in my time.
Do you understand that you're allowed to say things off mic? Do you understand that?
Is this thing on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
40 days up to 40 pounds. Say it with me. 40 days up to 40 pounds with NJ Diet. It only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds. NJ Diet isn't like any other diet. It's more of a health transformation rather than a weight loss program. NJ Diet uses your hair, saliva, and blood work along with bioenergetic scans to personalize supplements that will target your hormonal imbalances, which gets your body into the fat-burning zone so you can lose the weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. Don't wait for your doctor to give you bad news and then try to figure it out. Get ahead of your health by visiting njdiet.com today. Your weight loss can help you overcome many health issues like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, arthritis, depression, and even digestive issues. So, what are you waiting for? Locations in Skokie and Oak Brook or worldwide with live online video consults. Visit njdiet.com today or call 855-5NJ-DIET.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Bobby Piton, and I'm running for the United States Senate. I'm a God-first, U.S. constitutionalist candidate. Father of 5. My parents survived World War II and communism in Poland and were graced by God and the American people to be allowed to immigrate to the United States. For the past 19 months, I have been working relentlessly to return the favor by restoring the will of the American people through my work on voter integrity. I have fielded questions by Mayor Rudy Giuliani at the Arizona State Senate hearings, testified at the Georgia State Senate hearings, and exposed fraud in Pennsylvania. I have become friends with and have been endorsed by General Michael Flynn. Please vote for me in the primary on June 28th and visit me at bobbypiton.com to find out more. Thank you and God bless. Paid for by my campaign, Piton for U.S. Senate.
All right. You know what happened in my golf game yesterday? I forgot to take Balance of Nature before I went out on the course, and I think that really effective. Well, my joints were a little swollen, and the game wasn't there, but you were killing it, man. You were one time.
Played well yesterday.
You were. I really think you hit a 400-yarder.
No, but I played well. Actually, if it wasn't a scramble, I probably would have had my record round.
Yeah, it was.
Because I was 5 under by myself after 10.
And he was playing with 4 women. So what? But we'll get into Dan's Angels later. But back to Balance of Nature. You should do it. And our friend Tom Jones, who is running 76 marathons in 76 days, he only has a few marathons left before he reaches Washington County, Utah. He's raising money for the Village to Village, American Village West, they're calling it. There's one in Alabama. Check it out online. And you can find all the information at unitedwepledge.org and make some donations to help Tom Jones cross that finish line. But Tom Jones, he got involved with Balance of Nature and United We Pledge because he's a customer. He loves Balance of Nature. It's 6 capsules. You're getting 10 servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. And you hear stories here all the time on this radio station, and those are not actors out of Central Casting in L.A. No, those are real satisfied Balance of Nature customers, and you could be one too. Here's what you do. Call this number to start your journey to better health. 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Tom Goleb, Chief Financial Officer of Navitas Systems, a leader in the next generation of advanced battery technology and a customer of Signature Bank. A few years ago, I heard Signature Bank on an AM 560 radio ad, just as our previous commercial bank was being acquired. I knew Mick O'Rourke and Kevin Bastuga from a prior enterprise. I valued my relationship with them and the way they worked earned my trust and my business. So I decided to give Signature Bank a call. They took the time to understand our early stage technology company that has its own set of challenges. Signature Bank took care of us, and now we are satisfied customers.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
All right, polls have been open for a half hour. Tell us what's going on. Give us a call at 6:36. So meanwhile, we'll be discussing that riveting Gayle King interview of Melinda Gates on how the healing is going since her divorce.
Oh, my God.
So please give us a call and tell us what's going on at the polls so we don't have to talk about that.
And make some closing arguments for your candidates and ask about which candidates to vote for. We're here for you. 312-642-5600. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's the one and only Mike Scott, who's going to be working double duty today and tonight.
As long as the pizza's hot, we'll be okay. If it's not, then, I'm going home. Election day for the Illinois primary. Polls are open and will remain open until 7 tonight. AM 560 will have coverage of returns and candidate reaction. Tonight, French President Emmanuel Macron saying Russia cannot and should not win the war in Ukraine. His comments come as the war's terrible toll was on full view the day after a Russian missile strike hit a shopping mall, killing 18. 3 are in custody after dozens of migrants were found dead, packed inside an 18-wheeler in San Antonio, Texas.
In a triage situation like this, we made sure that everyone that we came across, all those 46, we put them on a 12-lead monitor to make sure that there were no signs of life, no electrical activity whatsoever. We found that in them.
That's San Antonio Fire Chief Charles Hood. Temperatures in the high 90s yesterday when the discovery was made outside of the truck, 120 inside the trailer. Texas GOP Governor Greg Abbott blaming President Biden for the deaths of the 40 found in the back of that 18-wheeler. Abbott taking to Twitter to say the deaths are a result of Biden's deadly open border policies. An aide to former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will reportedly testify today in an abruptly added public meeting of the January 6th committee at the U.S. Capitol. At least 3 are dead after an Amtrak train collides with a dump truck in Missouri. Dr. Jeffrey Kognauer is with the University of Missouri Healthcare.
2 of the patients required immediate operation after their initial assessment here in our emergency department. And then we've had 1 patient who had fatal injuries in our emergency department.
The train originated in L.A. and was on its way to Chicago. 243 passengers on board. An exact cause of the crash will be figured out when the NTSB arrives. A Cicero teen is charged in the deadly shooting last November along I-55. It happened November 18, and following an investigation, a man was arrested June 6 and charged with murder. Then, over the weekend, a 17-year-old was also arrested and charged with murder, held at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. 2 more boys are dead following a fire on Chicago's west side over the weekend. The blaze broke out Sunday in the basement of a home in the 4000 block of West Potomac. Cook County ME's office later revealing that 6-year-old Jaden Cruz and 11-year-old Angel Rodriguez died from injuries. A 4th child remains hospitalized in critical condition. 2 Indiana men are accused of trafficking guns from Indianapolis to Chicago. Devontae Brown and Corey Sarton are charged with conspiracy and willfully dealing firearms without a license. Sarton illegally sold 10 firearms to undercover law enforcement in Calumet City. Angels over the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim. Cubs take on the Reds tonight. The Bulls say they now want to keep guard Zach Levine as he enters unrestricted free agency. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager is ever watchful of language.
Now we have the added issue of being gender neutral at schools in England, so girls are not allowed to wear skirts. The same crowd that tells us a woman can do what she wants with her own body, right? Tell them what they can wear. Every day is a left-wing onslaught on language.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Douglas Warlick, and I'm asking for your vote for Kane County Clerk in the Republican primary on June 28th. I understand the challenges that Kane County residents face, and I am committed to bringing fiscal responsibility to our local government while serving the public with best practices for fair and honest elections. As a trial attorney and family law lawyer for over 40 years, I respect the rule of law. However, the incumbent Kane County Clerk who has held that office for 20 years, did not follow the election laws in 2020. For example, he whimsically decided not to use provisional ballots in spite of the clear language of the Illinois Election Code. And even worse, the debacles continue as he is not honoring the roles of election judges and poll watchers in this current election cycle. I pledge to serve the people of this county with integrity and transparency, starting with a complete cleansing of our voter rolls. Please vote for Doug Warlick for Kane County Clerk on June 28th or vote early.
Paid for by citizens for Doug Warlick.
Folks, when shopping for a home mortgage, how much is great service, low closing costs, and competitive interest rates worth to you? At Townstone Financial, it's priceless. Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. Let's hear about the Townstone experience from one of our customers.
My name is Melissa, and I bought my first home with Townstone Financial. It was a lot of personal attention. I felt like I was very comfortable. All of my questions were answered. It was a very personal, and Barry is very down to earth. He breaks it all down for the layperson who is not, usually a lender or knows anything about it. And really actually cared about me and how I understood the process. I felt that I could trust Barry and Townstone right away.
Remember, nobody values your home mortgage business more than Townstone. I guarantee it, and I own the company. So call me now, Barry Sterner, at 312-896-2110. That's 312-896-2110. Or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financial is licensed in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida. NMLS 136639. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender.
6:36 on AM 560, The Answer. And that, of course, means it's time to check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is a service of Audible. This summer, fire up your imagination with Audible. Listen to comedies, thrillers, mysteries, and more. It's everything you want in audio entertainment at audible.com. Inbound Edens is okay right now. Kennedy inbound 26 into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike already heavy, especially between Wolf and Des Plaines Avenue. 44 minutes in from 390 to the old post office. Stevenson on the brakes between Harlem and Kedzie. 44 minutes inbound to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan inbound 18. Jammed up Cermak into the circle already this morning. Tri-State jamming up northbound between the Grand Avenue curve and the Bensonville Bridge. Rest of the toll roads appear to be off and manageable right now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and nice, high 85. Currently 60 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560 The Answer.
Dan and Amy, top of the morning, 6:38. Polls have been open for just under 40 minutes. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Tell us what's going on or what went on at your polling place if you've already voted.
Long lines.
Make a argument for a particular candidate, a particular race that is important to you. James in Tampa, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, Dan. It's Gene, not James. But I listen to you guys down there every morning. I'm back up in the city now, and it's like I report back to Tampa to the other police officers I work with. But I am in shock with you guys. I mean, is this a third world country? Third world
It
city?
has become under the leadership or lack of leadership with Mayor Lightfoot.
Well, how do you
Oh,
mean
my
it?
God. I come back up here. Well, last night I turned on the news. They're jumping on buses on Sheffield and Belmont again. And then at the end of it, they say no arrest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
right.
Then I see our wonderful superintendent at a news conference saying, you know what? We're doing a great job.
Yeah, every time.
Crime's down. It's down.
Yep.
Every time you go to that, they'll end with a positive. Like, well, statistically.
And then the last thing that got me going was we got the mayor of Chicago standing on stage saying "F you" to a Supreme Court justice leading the crowd. I mean, this is like another world right now up here. I can't believe it.
And then we had 47 shot, 5 killed, a 4-year-old, and a 5-month-old baby girl who was 4 days away from turning 6 months old, and barely even talked about it. Barely even got mentioned.
Yeah, Gene. When you report back to Tampa, tell them to stay put.
Oh my God!
Makes
You know,
no
it's so
sense to
sad
come up
because
here.
all of us grew up here, Dan.
I know.
We all grew up here. We love the city, and just to see what's. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really heartbreaking. But thanks for listening to you guys, and I listen to you down there having coffee in the morning. So have a good day if you can up here.
Thanks, Gene.
Thanks, Jane, and calling anytime.
Greg, Downers Grove.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Amy. So the Downers Grove polling location, we got there probably about 10 minutes after 6, and we were the number 3 and 4. There was basically nobody there. But what was interesting was the election judges were all arguing between themselves on how to process the ballots.
Oh, boy.
Seems like they either didn't have the training or they didn't remember what the training was, to the point where they were only processing one person at a time through the polling location. So it'll be interesting to see today just how backed up it gets with the judges.
When you say processing, what do you mean? Processing the ballot in the machine, or like processing people to get their ballots to vote?
Oh, processing just to get the ballot to vote.
Oh.
They were at odds on how to go through that process, what needed to be signed, and basically they were arguing between themselves. So I think it's going to be a
Did
long
you vote
day,
electronically, or did you get a paper ballot?
This was a paper ballot. They print it out and hand it to you once they go through your signature.
Please tell me no one asked for an ID, because then this place will be up for grabs.
Oh, Dan. Nope, they.
Oh, good.
No ID.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, we don't want to have that issue.
No. Heavens, no.
You need one to eat at a restaurant with your vaccination card in Chicago.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Appreciate it.
No ID for voting. I still bring mine, though, and I present it, and they always tell me, you don't need that.
Put that away.
But
that has no
that's what
place
they say.
here.
Put that away.
They'd be less offended if you brought a gun into the polling place. Chuck and Delavan.
Hey, well, nobody gets a vote for me till November. Hey, you're in good company, Dan. I got cobwebs on my hat this morning, and I have cobwebs in my brain.
I have cobwebs.
That's why I take Prevagen. It's made with jellyfish. Yeah, you guys have a good day.
You too, Chuck. Good luck cleaning out those cobwebs, both the physical and mental. The closing arguments being made. Let's start with the governor's race because it's, I don't know, mildly entertaining.
Well, they found Richard Irvin because he's been in hiding, and he showed up.
Not really.
Popped up in Peoria.
No, he hasn't been in hiding in the last week or 10 days. All of a sudden, he's renewed his love affair with the media once it became clear that he was dropping like a stone in the polls, and he was trying to get some earned media because the checks stopped coming from Ken Griffin.
Okay, well, here he is.
For a Republican to win in Illinois, a governor, you need Republican votes, you need independent votes, and you need Democratic crossover. I'm the only person that's going to be able to do that.
I've never heard that before.
And you know who agrees with him? None other than your leader of the 30 Pieces of Silver caucus in the House, super minority leader Jim Durkin recorded this message. And I want to make sure you play it because I want everybody to remember who's tied to the hip after tonight.
Jim Durkin, House Republican leader, western suburbs of Cook County. I'm here with Richard Irvin today because I have great confidence in him as a human being, but also as a elected official. I've known him for over 20 years, and he has one of the most compelling stories of anybody I've ever met in public service. I'm supporting Richard for a number of reasons, but most importantly, he is the only Republican who can beat J.B. Pritzker in November.
That's all they have.
I've never heard that before.
It's so much fun. I mean, it's just so much fun. This is a repudiation not just of Richard Irvin, but who is backing Richard Irvin when he probably finishes third tonight. So it's just important to remember who the names are because they need to be turned out, sent away with Richard Irvin, who's just a their avatar du jour. They need to be sent away too. Leadership in the House and the Senate needs to change. Leadership in the party needs to change. And you have that opportunity with Darren Bailey as the nominee, particularly if Darren Bailey is successful in beating Pritzker. And there is an opportunity to win a race that I wouldn't have said there would be an opportunity for a year and a half ago, regardless of the candidate. Regardless of the candidate. And I will repeat, just as often as they're repeating, the specious data-free argument of, I'm the best. I'm the only one who could be Pritzker. No, I'm the only one who could be Pritzker. No, I'm the only one. Here's the reality. They're similarly situated. Pritzker is the favorite, as he always was, as he is going to be. But in this environment, because Biden is upside down in Illinois, you have a single-digit race, which means there's an opportunity. But you're going to have to run a tight ship. It's going to have to be a very good campaign to beat him. And it was always going to have to be that way, regardless of who the nominee was. So for those desperate candidates running around with that standard issue, 11th hour talking point, it's just not true. Pick whoever you want. Vote for whoever you want. Participate. It's just not true. And by the way, I say again, got to be as repetitive as they are. Not one of them has provided any substantive data to back up that claim. However, I actually did a general election survey. So that's why I know what I'm talking about. It's not my intuition. It's not my hope. It's what the numbers are.
And numbers don't lie.
Numbers can, but I'm giving you a snapshot of where the race is today. And that's all a survey can do. And what the path is if you want to beat Pritzker. And for those candidates and their supporters who are unsuccessful tonight, you have to decide what you want to do. If you want to be like these combine dim bulbs, the Jim Durkins of the world, and sit on your hands or bitch and moan privately, or even be the quisling that you are and work for the other side, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Go.
but what are they going to... Because
Can I finish my point? Then go ahead. It's a coalition of the willing. So you want to be part of a revolt against this feckless, corrupt, cowardly ruling class? Then you can participate in trying to take out J.B. Pritzker. If you don't, then you don't. Your choice.
Yeah, Irvin is going to lose, so then it's Durkin going to get behind the Republican
who cares?
nominee.
Don't care.
That whole group?
Don't care.
Well, if Irvin's a real Republican, he should care about the betterment of the party and do it.
That's their choice.
Oh,
and that's the attitude that you should take. We don't have time and don't have the interest, frankly, for people who have been enemies inside the perimeter to, change their hearts and minds, to imbue them with courage they don't possess, with intellect that is absent, with consideration for their own performance and self-accountability. We don't have time for it. You know how many votes Durkin controls? 1. Same thing with all these other fungible state reps. They're irrelevant. To the extent they want to participate, they become relevant. To the extent they don't, they're irrelevant. And oh, by the way, now they don't have the check writer that makes them relevant.
Yeah, because he's gone.
So now what do? Real conundrum for them. That's their problem.
I like these callers on the line. 312-642-5600.
Anna in Skokie.
Hi, I just wanted to call in because I felt like this was a good moment to do so. This is actually the first time in my life I'm voting in our gubernatorial primary, let alone pulling a Republican ballot. And I just felt it's so necessary this time. I never felt like I had skin in the game before because as a mom, I'm just focused on raising my kids giving to my community, but I felt like this is such an interesting race because you have a candidate for me personally that I see that is standing up for children and parents and like spearheading these efforts against indoctrination in schools and CRT and all this craziness that we're experiencing in my district with my children and my community. So this is the first time I'm voting in a Republican primary, and I am voting for Jesse Sullivan for governor because I feel like he has our back. He's a parent. He gets it. And I feel like he's going to win.
Okay.
Well, and thanks for coming
Thanks
over.
for
You
calling,
joined almost 1 million other new party members, according to a new poll nationwide, that are now voting Republican.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, this is an important point. The million that moved from left to right nationally. It's also something in the context of this governor's race. People change their minds. Don't get so poll obsessed. I mean, we look at, I look at this as a, political consultant hack and stuff, and you need to measure what you're doing. That's important, and that's what polling does. Gives you a sense of how you're doing, what you're doing, and so forth. But think of the last 6 weeks. When Richard Irvin had the run of the place, he was up 12 points, and his fave on faves are running 2-1. 6 weeks later,
A whole different story.
he's upside down. He went from May 1st. I mean, these are basically the numbers from my polling. He went from May 1st, like plus 23 fave on fave, to June 1st minus 5. He went from up 7 to down 7, to then down, as we stand here as of Wednesday, down 22. So
big and a quick fall.
The point is to say, people want to hear the arguments from all sides. And if only one side's making an argument, then okay, well, then they're going to pay attention to that argument. Say, oh, that's interesting. I guess I could be supportive of him. And if nobody else makes an argument, then that person making the argument is likely to win. Not that he really made an argument, but presenting himself. But then all of a sudden, somebody else comes along and says, well, did you know all of this other stuff? And then people's minds change. So this idea that people are locked in, regardless of the evidence you present or regardless of the quality of the arguments you make, it's true for some, but there is enough of a percentage of the electorate that, as I say, a race that's single digits in a general election is winnable. It's very winnable, even with, J.B. Pritzker having 100% hard name ID, people having an opinion of him. Their opinion of him is very one-sided because he's the only one that's really been making an argument for the past 3 years, aided and abetted by the Chicago and Springfield press corps. Well, that's about to change. Kenneth in Hyde Park.
Hi, Dan and Amy. I wanted to talk about my voting experience, but first I wanted to just appreciate Amy for your great questions during the AM 560 debate. I thought that the questions, especially to the candidates, like to Jesse, it seems like he dropped out of the sky with so fun. I giggled, I literally giggled. So thank you for that. And so yesterday I voted, and they did not care about me getting an ID or anything like that. And what they did care about, though, is because I wanted to take a picture of my ballot. And they were like, oh, you cannot have cameras in here. You cannot take photos.
Right.
Did you take a photo? And I was like, I'm not answering that question.
Right.
I'm just like, please proceed. Did you take a photo? Oh, please proceed. How do you care more if I took a photo than if I'm actually a person that should be voting? I don't understand your standard. So that was just a really weird deal for me, like what they care about and what they don't care about.
Oh, it's a good point. Thanks for the call, Kenneth. I mean, you're not allowed to take photo of the ballot.
You're not? Why not?
Technically.
Oh.
I mean, I get, it's in the whole secrecy of the ballot sort of protocol. But I mean,
people received sample ballots, so I didn't see a problem.
Well, a sample ballot is not an actual ballot. I'm talking about your actual ballot in a polling place. You receive a sample ballot with a recommendation of who to vote for, or a list of who's on the ballot. It's not the same thing as your actual ballot in the polling place you're voting. but under the whole election integrity rubric. But regardless, Kenneth's point is a fair one, though. I like that way he thinks about it, which is, they care so much about, me taking a picture of who I'm voting for, and they don't care about whether I should be voting in the first place. It's a fair point about the laws that govern. Rich, North Side. Hey, Rich.
Rich.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just came from the 40th precinct, the second ward. The doors were locked to get in. No setups. Nobody took IDs. Nobody was wearing IDs. No training. And it's a mess. Took me half an hour to cast my ballot.
Wow.
I was the first person there.
Oh, boy, better get on the horn with Brian Hopkins to have him work that out, huh?
Brian Hopkins is not my man.
Not your man, yeah. But he is your alderman.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, you don't sound excited about it. All right, thanks for the call, Rich. John in Lincolnwood.
Oh, good morning, Dan and Amy. I was in Niles, 56th precinct, and it was actually nobody there, and it was very professional, very smooth. And only thing that I found strange is the girl, when I came in, asked me for my ID. And I'm like, she wanted to scan it. And I'm like, ID for what? I mean, what do you want? A voter ID, a driver's ID? She goes, oh, no, don't worry about it. Just give me your address.
Yeah. She made
Interesting.
it was a Freudian slip on her part. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but there was a first time I've ever seen it. There was a little scanner, and it says ID here.
Huh.
Oh, really?
Was it your
Yeah, I swear, that's why I'm calling, because I'm like, I've
voter
never
registration
seen that.
card, or did they want your driver's license? That's
I don't. She wouldn't
Well,
answer
either
me.
way,
I
you
said,
don't
I
need
have
you don't need to present either.
I always bring my.
Don't worry. We'll call John. You don't have to. We'll call Kim Fox and we'll have her arrested and all of that equipment seized. Yeah, so that that doesn't happen again. Yeah.
Oh, really quick question, Dan. Who was I supposed to for the senator? Who was the one that I should have voted for? I didn't. I saw all these choices, and it was a Republican ballot. I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea.
Who did you vote for?
Oh, who was it? Salvi?
Oh, you're
name recognition.
Italian American bias. Is that right, John?
No. No, I just didn't know. I was like,
I
I think
understand.
Salvi, but Dan'll kill me. I think Dan's gonna kill me.
No. That's fine. Thanks for the call, John. I mean, I've said before, I like Kathy Salvi and I like the family. I like Matt
Great
Dubiel.
I love Matt Dubiel.
And Matt Dubiel's, he's fiery and I
Well,
like
he's
him.
a parent who's decided to get involved, and I respect that.
And he's a radio guy, so that's my radio guy bias. So,
Got a text message. Voter turnout very slow. Our first voter just arrived. That's at a precinct in the northwest suburbs.
could be their only voter, depending on which suburb. Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Went to Darren Bailey's rally yesterday in Des Plaines. Great speech, great presentation. Patty Murray. I don't know if you remember her, Senator Patty Murray.
Oh yeah, mom on a mission.
Well, she was a soccer mom and tennis shoe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she's on a mission.
Because Darren's talking about how he's a downstate farmer. He's only been there for. I was surprised. I thought he was there a little longer. Only since 2018, he was a state rep, and then he ran for state senate. And he fought. He's been fighting the good fight for us. So he's got these types of people with different backgrounds can get elected. So it's happened many times in American politics. So to dismiss him, as some people are, because he's from downstate, is completely erroneous. He can definitively beat Pritzker with the right campaign. Polls are like balance sheets. They're snapshots in time, and the campaigns are like income statements. They're how you do. If he runs the right campaign and if Pritzker slips, and he could definitely win, even in this state. This is like Steve Cortez says yesterday. This is I forget how he said it, but an allegedly or something like that blue state, or an apparently blue state.
Yeah.
This state can turn. So anyway, I want to get your thoughts too on DeVore Shestokas. I still haven't voted. I'm doing it later. I thought I saw DeVore had the better poll numbers, so I'm open to either. But
Thanks for the call, Frank. Well, from what I've seen, yeah, I think DeVore has a slight lead. That's a tough call between the two. We'll have to pick that up on the other side. Coming up at 7:07, Well, we'll pick up We'll continue our discussion on the election. But, of course, I want to get to Melinda Gates's healing since the divorce from Bill. Taking your calls all morning on this election day, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
It's Illinois primary election day, and 2 more children have died after a West Side fire. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
It was just too hot. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We're not supposed to open up a truck and see stacks of bodies in there.
But San Antonio, Texas Fire Chief Charles Hood says they found 46 migrants dead, crammed inside an 18-wheeler with no water or air conditioning. 16 survivors are hospitalized. 4 of them kids.
We hope that those responsible for putting these people in such humane conditions are prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Mayor Ron Nirenberg, 3 people in custody. It's what believed to be a human smuggling operation. About 40 people are recovering in Missouri the day after being injured when the Amtrak train they were on slammed into a dump truck on the tracks at a rural crossing. 3 others were killed. The train derailed.
Then it stopped and turned on its side. The people on our left-hand side flew across and hit us, and then we were standing on the windows on the right-hand side of the car.
The NTSB is sending a crew to investigate what happened and why. The Democrat-led House committee probing last year's Capitol riot has another hearing today.
The Select Committee is hearing from Cassidy Hutchinson this afternoon at a hearing announced only yesterday. Hutchinson was a top aide to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. In recorded depositions, Hutchinson told investigators several House Republicans inquired about pardons in the aftermath of the January 6th riot.
Fox's Jared Halpern, days after the Supreme Court undid the federal legal right to an abortion, giving states' rights to restricted, judges in Louisiana and Utah have allowed abortions to continue there for now.
Abortion providers in Louisiana argued that the ban was overly vague and restricts the right to due process. In Utah's lawsuit, Planned Parenthood and the ACLU wrote that 55 patients were scheduled for abortions in the next week. Similar lawsuits have been filed in Texas, Idaho, Kentucky, and Mississippi regarding trigger laws.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. Those laws were put in place in the past to ban abortion if and when the Supreme Court rules, like it did Friday.
Sunshine in Chicago. It's 60 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560 The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Election day for the Illinois primary. Polls open and will remain open until 7 p.m. tonight. The ballot includes races for governor, congressional seats, state legislative offices, and a host of local positions. AM 560 will have coverage of returns and candidate reaction tonight, beginning after the polls close. Illinois voters have laid out critical issues driving them to the polls. Protesters in Chicago over the weekend marched in the streets in reaction to Friday's Supreme Court ruling, sending the issue of abortion back to state governments. Meantime, at Saturday, a rally for former President Donald Trump near Quincy. Several voters said their issues range from the economy and gas prices to securing Second Amendment rights. Amber Oberheim, whose police officer husband Chris was murdered last year in Champaign, says addressing crime and backing law enforcement is tops on her list.
That is my one agenda at this point in time. Would I like to see our state recover from the financial ugliness that has been created? Absolutely. But right now, I'm about public safety and safety for my law enforcement family, and that's first and foremost.
At least 3 are dead after an Amtrak train bound for Chicago derailed in Missouri after hitting a dump truck on Monday.
2 of the patients required immediate operation after their initial assessment here in our emergency department. And then we've had 1 patient who had fatal injuries in our emergency department.
The Southwest Chief derailed after it struck a dump truck at a public crossing in the city of Mendon. Mayor Lightfoot isn't apologizing after offending much of the city of Chicago by cursing out U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas over the weekend.
Thank you, Clarence Thomas.
The mayor was criticizing Thomas for suggesting that last week's reversal of Roe v. Wade should lead to a review by the High Court of the Obergefell decision on gay marriage. Chicago sports. Angels edged by the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim, while the Cubs will take on the Reds tonight. Blackhawks named their new head coach. Luke Richardson was hired. He spent the last 4 seasons as an assistant with the Canadiens. The News is a service of the Salem Podcast Network. Hear the latest podcast episodes from Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, and many more. Subscribe free at salempodcastnetwork.com. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't see the left letting up.
You think they're going to give Ron DeSantis any peace? They're going to see Ron DeSantis as Donald Trump 2.0. They're not going to give him any peace. It's going to be just as bad. That's how they play ball. They break the law. That's what they're doing outside the Supreme Court justices' homes. The Democrats don't care.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, this is Rob Cruz. I'm running for Congress in the 6th District. I am a girl dad, a husband, cancer survivor, small business owner, and activist. If you're ready to choose safety over crime, education over indoctrination, fair trade over free trade, to expand our party here in Illinois, then on June 28th in the Republican primary, you're ready to choose Cruz. Thank you. I'm Rob Cruz, and I approve this message. Paid for by Cruz for a Cause.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Bobby Piton, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Are you tired of high oil prices, runaway immigration, sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, food prices skyrocketing, the economy being shut down, bogus mandates, sexualization of our children, and more? Well, so am I. I'm the father of 5, and I've been fighting relentlessly for the past 19 months to restore the voice of the American people. I've testified in Arizona as well as Georgia and helped prove that fraud exists in multiple states. Please support my primary run by voting for me on June 28th. You can visit me at bobbypiton.com, and I have been endorsed by countless patriots, including General Flynn. Paid for by my campaign. Thank you, and God bless. Paid for by my campaign, Piton for U.S. Senate.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Rich Irvin does not seem to understand how hard the taxpayers work for the money.
That's former Aurora Alderman Rick Lawrence, who wants you to know what he knows about Mayor Richard Irvin. So does real estate developer Dan Heitz, who said Aurora businesses needed Richard Irvin to stand with them against Pritzker's shutdown, but Irvin stood with Pritzker instead, says Heitz.
He followed Pritzker's lead, and he didn't stand up for the people of Aurora. He stood up for big government and big governor.
When Aurora residents needed Richard Irvin to protect them from rioters, Irvin stood with Black Lives Matter, according to Alderman Rick Lawrence.
Our police were told to stand down.
Dan Heitz remembers.
Basically, Richard Irvin dropped the ball. Protesters started rioting and burning. Police just standing there watching.
Richard Irvin stood with a governor who locked down Illinois and rioters who burned down his own city. It's time for Illinois conservatives to stand up and vote no on Richard Irvin.
If anybody confuses Rich Irvin with a conservative, they really didn't do their homework.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update on the roads is a service of the Daybreak Insider podcast. The latest reporting and analysis of the day's most important stories. Subscribe free, daybreakinsider.com. Inbound Edens jams up Foster to Montrose. 17 into the junction this morning. Kennedy inbound 29 into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound 45, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson at 50 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan inbound 18, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Reagan jamming up inbound between Cermak and the Tri-State due to construction on the ramp to the northbound Tri-State. Stop-and-go traffic in Hammond, Indiana due to an accident northbound on Klein near 173rd. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Mostly sunny, nice day today. High 85, partly cloudy. Couple of brief showers tonight and the low at 66. For tomorrow, clouds and sun, the high 85. Sunny to partly cloudy, breezy, a hot one on Thursday, the high at 92. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
60 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I guess we'll continue on with our election day discussion because we've got a lot of people that want to talk about today's choices and the implications of said choices. But first, I want to know why Amy Jacobson carries Cholula in her purse.
What's wrong with that?
It's just weird. Why do you have hot sauce in your purse?
I have everything
I mean, I'm
in my
glad
purse.
you do because I want it for my breakfast sandwich, but it's just odd, isn't it?
If I was on Let's Make a Deal, I have everything in my purse and I would win.
Is that a thing on Let's Make a Deal?
Yeah, like, remember that show?
I know the show, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you have a paper clip in your purse? Ah. Do you have an EpiPen in your purse? I have everything you need.
Why hot sauce? EpiPen is a life-saving device.
Well, this clears the sinuses. You just never know. You can throw this on everything.
Sure.
Salads.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It works.
I was just curious. I don't know if that was like a regular thing. Most women carry hot sauce in their purse just in case.
And also, too, if you're any voter irregularities, any problems at the polls, are your polls even open? We definitely want to hear from you. 312-642-5600. What's your voting
your
experience?
polls open.
Like?
They should have been open an hour and 11 minutes ago. But here's the thing.
It's Chicago.
That's true. Also, what is this I hear about? Because I've heard from other people now. We had a caller on it, and we've got some texts. There are devices at the polling places to scan driver's licenses or IDs. We may have to. We may have to suspend this election. We may have to cancel this election and discard all the results. That's ruining our democracy, as I understand it. If you ask for ID, that destroys our democracy. I don't know what's going on in Chicagoland. We don't need to know who's voting, because we have established a culture of trust in Chicago and Cook County because everyone knows that these are free and fair elections that are above board, right? IDs, what is going on? Where's a Kim Fox when you need her? Neil on the Northwest Side. Hey, Neil.
Hi, you there?
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Edgebrook on the northwest side, the 9th precinct, they have no judge. So what was disseminated as our polling place is not our polling place. So we have to go to one of the early voting places.
Oh, that's fun. It's sort of like it's sort of like an adventure, right?
Yeah.
More time to park.
Yeah.
Hope you're good at parallel parking.
You don't have a job or anything you have to get to, I assume. So just, you just make a day of it.
It's not voter suppression or anything. It's not, it has nothing to do with not having a judge on the northwest side, but,
Yeah, right. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks for the call, Neil. It should be done, too. I mean, you should be able to just vote. Like, it should be like Fandango. I mean, just vote, right? Like, just vote ahead of time and then.
Well, we've had, voting for 45 days now? When did early voting begin? 30 days.
It's not enough time.
I mean, honestly, the longer you have something, the more vulnerable it becomes. But don't worry.
We should start voting before the filing deadlines, before we know who the candidates are, just to be on the safe side.
I think, and we should start after tomorrow morning. We should start voting for the general election. It's only fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's get
out
right
of an
to it.
abundance of caution. We want to make sure because of the COVID lingering. And we still have an executive order that Pritzker signed. We're still under an emergency order, by the way, just in case you were wondering.
Jan, Hoffman Estates.
Hello.
Hi.
Listen, I wanted to my neighbor with, and she's afraid to declare herself. Secondly, she said, I don't know who to vote for. And I've been going on the internet trying to see, where's a conservative Republican ballot anywhere, and I can't get any information. So there anywhere we can go to find out who we should vote for?
Well, I mean, it depends. We can give you. I can give you my
19th
recommendations.
Precinct, Hoffman Estates.
Well, okay, but what offices are you interested in learning about?
Well, I'm going to vote for that Salvi for the
Senate.
Duckworth replacement.
Right.
And Bailey, only because I think I would rather get Rabine, Rabine or whatever, but I don't think he'll be able to win in the general. I mean, I don't think he'll get through,
Right,
so I
right.
figured downstate people are voting for Bailey, so, I mean, we could win 98 counties and still lose the governorship, so. But I don't know if there's any judges or any, I told her I'm going to go and check it out, but we can't get a sample ballot.
Well, you've got a Supreme Court judge. You got a Supreme Court race to vote in. Novarini and Shanes are two candidates to take a look at, I would say.
Novarini's the one we have to keep in there. Novarini, I know.
Well,
I didn't think he was in our county. I thought it was Kane and some of the other counties.
Right. He probably doesn't go up into Northwest Bruce.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my ballot.
That's right. So you got AG, you got Secretary of State. Those are competitive. You've got a congressional race.
Who for Secretary of State?
Dan Brady.
I know I'm not.
Yeah, I think
Dan Brady.
Oh, Dan Brady. Yeah,
Brady might be
I'm
that?
opposed to
Okay,
the Irvin
all right.
ticket. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
I'd just like to encourage all these people to go out and vote anyway. I know they're afraid now of declaring themselves. I never heard of them. This lady, my neighbor's 86 years old. She goes, I'm afraid to declare myself. Like, what are you worried about? I mean,
Yeah.
But anyway, how many signatures do we need to get an open ballot, for primaries in Illinois? How many signatures would we have to get?
People are complaining about that when I voted on Saturday. One guy was yelling at an election judge.
Yeah.
Because
he wanted to vote for a certain candidate who's running as Republican.
Right.
Right. It's a tall
I mean,
order.
I think
Yeah.
that we should get some of these senior people that, are not doing anything to go out and start getting signatures and get it on the ballot so we can get some real, truth and honesty in voting for who you want to and not declaring yourself. Because, I mean, how can people be afraid of declaring who they are,
Well, thanks.
I mean, it's ridiculous that you have to declare anyway. I mean, it's supposed to be your own privacy, but,
Well, why are
You know,
people
the state
afraid,
is
I
so
wonder?
broad.
Why are people
Because
afraid?
they're afraid if they vote Republican, they're going to lose their
thinking
job.
That they're going to start. Well, no, she's not. She's retired. She's 86 years
I'm
old.
saying
but
other people.
Well, why is she
Yeah.
afraid? Why is your 86-year-old neighbor afraid?
He starts hearing all this stuff where they're coming after people and they know who you are and where you voted and everything, because they do know how you vote.
Yeah.
And you can look and
Yes.
see if you voted Democrat,
Right.
which is I don't think is really right. And then when they do this gerrymandering and start drawing lines, they kind of know, who they can get. I know Raja is our representative.
Yeah.
And
He
I don't know who's
sucks.
running against him, but anybody anybody that runs against him is going to be voted for me. So
All right.
because we don't have any representation. I mean, it's like, who do we call? If our rights are being, compromised as a citizen, who are we going to call? Like, one of our senators. We're going to call Dick Turbin. We're going to call this state's attorney. Raul, whatever his name is.
Oh, Kwame
Is he gonna
Raoul, the
stand up
Attorney
for
General. Yeah,
Kwame?
right.
Yeah. Is he gonna file a discrimination lawsuit because we're losing our rights under our Constitution? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, they dismiss all these cases, so
Thanks for
get
the-
out and vote. Just tell everyone to get out and vote. And
Thanks.
if there's anything interesting, I'll call back. All right.
Thanks for the call, Jan. Appreciate it. Yeah, it is kind of interesting on the not forcing people to declare. I mean, it's just in closed primaries, you want declaration because you're speaking. The candidates focus in on the universe, so you make sure you've got Republicans nominating Republicans. Although there have been attempts to do otherwise, including in this race, the governor's race. And but I mean, there's a point to be made there. But I think that the people afraid to declare themselves, I think that speaks to a certain political culture too. And maybe if that's the political culture, now is an opportune time to revolt. What do you have to lose? Michael Southside.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Amy. Thank you for taking my call. If Darren Bailey wins as expected, I wonder how the media will treat Stephanie Trussell, the black woman who's his running mate. Are they going to play up a pioneer angle for her, or are they going to do a hatchet piece on her?
Oh, Pioneer, they'll treat her about the same way you're seeing Clarence Thomas be treated right now, with the left using the N-word to describe him all over social media.
That's awful.
That's how they'll treat
Or
Stephanie
they'll just ignore
Tressel.
her.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but to the extent they have to, thanks for the call, Mike, to the extent they have to acknowledge her, to the extent that she's in TV ads for Bailey and so on and so forth, she'll be dismissed in no uncertain terms by the left, because the radical left is so virulently racist. What else is an identitarian other than a racist? And they make it known to all the way they're treating Clarence Thomas right now because of his majority opinion in Dobbs. I mean, literally, go on social media. Canadian pollster I saw, and other examples on Twitter, calling him the N-word, House N-word, and so on and so forth. And nary a comment from all of the cultural mavens of the left. That's who they are. That should inform this discussion about race, about K through 12 curricula in the general election. Tom in Crystal Lake.
Yes.
Hi, Tom.
So today I was going to vote, and they, as I signed my card, they tell me that the card signature doesn't match. And I said, well, my signature's probably changed in the last 25 or 30 years that I've lived here. And I says, why don't I just show you my ID? It says, no, just re-sign this card and use all your letters of your name, and we'll see if that works. So I re-signed it, and they allowed that to happen. So and then I voted.
All right. Thanks for the call, Tom. Well, it's a good thing they didn't ask for your ID.
Shh. Don't say that.
Yeah. I don't want to destroy our democracy.
I love that.
That's
I
an
love during COVID that you had to show it with your Vax card in order to eat and to go to restaurant. I mean, to go to movies and everything.
You know what kind of person asks for an ID to vote?
A racist.
Insurrectionist.
Oh.
Somebody that's trying to destroy our democracy.
Oh my God! If I hear that one more time, that and equity, I can't. Oh my God.
Michelle in Woodridge.
Morning, Dan and Amy. First of all, Amy, Cholula, my favorite hot sauce ever.
Thank you.
I like
everything.
I like Cholula. I like Cholula. I
just
just odd that she has it in her purse. I don't keep like a bottle in my back pocket, so I was just.
I think I might start. So
all right.
Thanks for the idea.
Frank's hot sauce is also good.
All right. Anyways, I'm still trying to figure out who to vote for, because I feel like I've done all my research. I've listened to all the debates, and the one thing that's bothering me the most is that Darren Bailey keeps getting accused of raising taxes 13 times, and I've never heard him explain that. He usually just kind of laughs it off or something. I don't know if I've missed something, but because taxes are probably my number one issue, and I just want someone to explain to me, did he do that, and why?
Well, he on the Clay County School Board, where he served for 18 years, their property tax, I mean, as you understand in the school board, property tax levy is passed every year to, in part, fund the schools, with the state supplementing what most school districts receive through the local property taxes. And so he voted for the levies that, in some cases, and he said, I'm quoting Darren Bailey, many, many times it was like $5 a household. I think at one time at the maximum it was $19 a household in terms of the incremental increase. And, you're talking about a rural school district, and you're talking about a state that passes, as you'll hear from all school districts, state that routinely passes unfunded mandates down to the local school district, and then the local school districts are saddled with having to make decisions about how to comply with state law within the money that they can allocate to themselves through the property tax levy, combined with whatever they can anticipate from the state with respect to their student population. And so that's the story. I mean, as a local school board member, it's not the same thing as proposing tax increases or increasing taxes to increase taxes to featherbed salaries and pensions. It's because you've got to make do at the local level with what the state imposes best you can, particularly in a rural school district where you're reliant on local property taxes just the same way suburban school districts are.
Okay, I understand. I understand that. Now, let me ask you this. So when Darren Bailey campaigns on, and all of them, that they're going to cut property taxes, how in the world can they cut property taxes? Because I know that my property taxes are over $14,000 a year.
Yeah.
And those, I feel like, are never going down.
The only
Like,
way the only way they can do it, and this was my proposal a decade ago. It's been other people's proposal that's been adopted, and all I did was look around at best practices like our neighbor to the east, Indiana. The only way you can do it is at the state level, hard cap it, like Indiana does. Hard cap residential at 1% of property value, commercial at 2%, farmland at 3%, and say it shall not increase until and unless you have a capital event, meaning you improve it or sell it. That's the way it is in Indiana. That's actually the way it is in California through proposition. Florida has a version of this. The increments are a little bit higher, but that's the only way you can do it. So what they're and Rabine's proposed this too, and I'm glad they both did. But that's the way. That's you putting a marker down. This is what we should do. Indiana has it, and they got schools and police and all those other units of government too. We can do it. But then you got to change the composition of the General Assembly and get people whipped up about this idea in order to put pressure on them. But that's the way that would have to happen. So it's not like flipping a switch. It's not executive order. It would be a fight.
Right. I imagine because it's such a Democrat-dominated government,
Yep.
I would imagine that would be very hard.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for
All
the
right. That helps. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Michelle.
See, they're helping one listener at a time.
That's what I do. One starfish at a time because it matters to this one. Tier. Maddie, Orland Park.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I've been a judge for quite some time, and the little slot that you put your driver's license in, the judges will not ask you for it, but if you offer it, they put it in so the back can be read and your information comes up much more quickly. So that's not. This year in Cook County, we have all new machines. It's pretty technologically advanced, so we'll see what happens.
Maddie, when somebody does that, though, do you say thank you for facilitating the process, but you're destroying our democracy by volunteering your ID?
No, I've always just played along,
okay.
you know.
All right.
But in terms of candidates, David Shostokis for AG is the one that he has the prosecutorial background. He's a constitutional expert, written a book on the Constitution, the Declaration, and he really is an expert on election fraud, as is Bobby Piton. Bobby Piton was the quant that went out to Maricopa County and created the algorithm so that they could figure out how the dead were voting. So that is a process they're working on here in Illinois.
Yeah, thanks
we
for
had
the call,
him on
Maddie.
the show after he went out there. Remember?
Yeah, I like David Shostokis. I will say that I like him, and I think he's the real deal. I think he's a very good attorney, very good experience, and he's got a great tagline. I'm going to steal it for the general election if he's not in it. Make crime illegal again.
Oh, that.
It's really good.
That
It's not as good as Illinois Isn't Broken, It's Fixed, but it's
Dan Prof came up with that.
right.
one.
But it's pretty good, and that's a great one. So I'm going to steal that if he doesn't make it to the general. If he does make it to the general, well, every Republican should run on it. But anyway,
Thomas DeVore. I mean, I love his fight, and he has helped so many people across the state, so many parents who were hopeless, and he gave them hope. And he was always there to listen. And anytime I'd give somebody his phone number, he'd actually pick up the calls, talk to them, walk them through the process of trying to get fundamental rights back for our kids.
I agree about that, and that's why
He took on the fight, and a lot wouldn't.
And that's why he's in the lead, and that's part of the reason that Darren Bailey was a viable candidate, and ultimately, with some help, is going to be the nominee, is because they stood up when you were called to stand up when few others did, and so there is much to admire about that. But DeVore specifically, there are some. He's in a few legal entanglements that present challenges for a general election. I mean, I just got to be honest and say that I'm not coming down on one side or the other, but I'm just saying that these legal entanglements, and we asked him about one when he was on the show last week. They just present a target-rich environment for Kwame Raoul, who he'd be facing. Not saying they're not overcomable. I'm just saying it presents a target-rich environment. It would be a fight. So we'll see. I think The race is probably DeVore's to lose going into today. So if he's the nominee, then that's how it's going to be. But I don't see the same issues, the same challenges with Shostokis as I do potentially with DeVore. Patrick in Cook County.
Hey Dan, how are you?
Good.
I'm just doing my normal working for the county as a secret observer.
Mm-hmm.
And
secret.
What are you observing?
Right?
How are you? Are you dressed up like the what's the census cowboy undercover?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
All right.
So what are you noticing?
What's going on?
So I go around to all the different precincts and I check in on all of the judges and make sure everyone's got all their equipment, make sure everything's working. And as normal, nothing works. But the other caller was right about the ID scanner. They kind of like play it sly, where they sort of say, oh well, it's there just to make it easy. I'm like, well, if you could do that, why couldn't you get everyone in there? And what's really strange about it is the ability to register to vote at the precinct.
Oh yeah, same day registration.
I mean, that is just wide open. And and now all the signature verification is on the tablet. It's just not good.
Now, do you work for Cook County, or you're just like a concerned citizen who's moving around and looking at what's going on?
No, I just have done election judging so long.
Oh, okay.
That they obviously don't look at the voter records, but
imagine that.
Shocking. They keep hiring me on because I'm one of the few people who knows how to fix all the equipment.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah, no, it's good though. I mean, I would say mostly.
And when you say fix, you mean like to make it work. You don't mean to like fix in the Cook County sense of that word.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, there is weird stuff though,
Yeah.
Just as you know, that's when
like
they
what?
if they never allow cheating in the primary. They're very good at stopping it in the primary.
Right. Focus
and then
on
when it gets to the general, it's like just wide open.
Yeah. Well, you want to ramp up your cheating. You want to make it count. So you want to focus when
you want to
the
slow
general
roll
election.
into it.
Well, you don't want you. I mean, if it's your guy on your own party's ballot, you don't want your guy to not get in.
No, of course. And since that's already wired up, then you just need to worry about the general election in case you have one of these pesky Republicans that threatens the order of things. No,
Right.
I get it.
Or like a crossover person. They're just not interested in that.
Yeah.
So
thanks for the call, Patrick. Appreciate it. Good luck out there.
Peyton for some same-day voter registration at Lakeview High School.
Why isn't he registered?
Well, because we're going to register today, Dan.
Well, why isn't he
we have a
registered
date
before?
plan. Because we didn't do it. We were busy.
Yeah, you're out busy buying hot sauce rather than registering your kid to vote. Let's go priorities.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll continue our discussion on this election day of Illinois on the policy side, but certainly the electoral piece of it cannot be ignored. Ted Dabrowski joins us for our weekly conversation. Ted Dabrowski from wirepoints.com at 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is the one and only Mike Scott.
Sunshine and 60 degrees. Another major headquarters is on the move. Chevron is selling its entire California headquarters, moving all of its employees to Texas. The oil giant occupies the former Enron headquarters in Houston now and will move most, if not all, of their California employees to Houston. Chevron, by the way, has called the Bay Area home since the 1800s. An aide to former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows reportedly will testify in an abruptly added public hearing of the committee investigating the rioting on January 6th.
The surprise witness is a woman named Cassidy Hutchinson. She's a former top aide to President Trump's then Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. And Hutchinson will be the first White House employee to testify publicly in front of the committee.
Russia denying its missiles hit a shopping mall Monday in the Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk. Moscow saying today the missiles actually struck a nearby arms depot, and that may have set off an explosion that started a fire in the mall. More than 40 migrants were found dead inside of an 18-wheeler trailer in San Antonio on Monday. The police chief there is William McManus.
Came out to investigate, found a trailer with the doors partially open, opened them up to take a look, and found a number of deceased individuals inside.
No water, no air conditioning in the trailer, all of the victims suffering from heat stroke and exhaustion. The U.S. Supreme Court rules a former football coach in Washington State had his rights violated when he lost his job for praying at the 50-yard line after games. The legal director for Americans United, Richard Katzke, says the decision regarding Joe Kennedy ignores the power a coach has over students.
How do you know whether students are joining voluntarily as opposed to having to go along to get along, recognizing that they better pray if they want to play?
Katzke says the district will need to find a way to allow the coach to pray while also protecting kids from future influence. Election day in the Illinois primary. Polls are open till 7 tonight, and AM 560 will have coverage of returns and candidate reaction tonight, beginning after the polls close. 2 more boys are dead following a fire on the west side over the weekend. The blaze began early Sunday in the basement of a house in the 4,000 block of West Potomac. A 4th child this morning remains hospitalized in very critical condition. A Fox News analyst is mourning the death of his younger brother in Chicago last week. Gianno Caldwell announcing on social media that his teen brother was murdered on the south side early Friday in the Morgan Park neighborhood. There have been no arrests in that case. Angels over the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim, while the Cubs host the Reds tonight at Wrigley Field. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. When you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk is seeing a big swing.
I believe we are seeing a political transformation, a great realignment that will permanently upend our system of government, the Democrat Party, and will finally put the conservative movement in the driver's seat for generations to come. What will be anywhere between a 60 to 80 to 100 seat majority coming into November.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Today is primary election day in Illinois. Thousands of people will go to the polls and determine the matchup for the November election. The biggest race this year is for governor. As someone who has watched the sausage being made, the only thing in voters' minds should be who do they trust to take up the fight for conservative reform in Illinois. No state is more in need of that than Illinois, which, according to the Mercatus Center, is the worst-run state in the nation and out of step with our Midwestern neighbors. In the last few years, the policy choices of our politicians have been exactly the opposite of those in our neighboring states. Here's a few examples. In 2019, Democrats and Republicans joined hands and doubled our gas tax, now the second highest in the nation. Meanwhile, on our southwest border, Missouri has the second lowest gas tax in the nation. Years ago, Indiana passed a 1% cap on residential property taxes. In Illinois, just like our gas taxes, we have the second highest property taxes, and it isn't because we have better roads, schools, or police protection. In 2020, Governor Pritzker attempted to change our flat tax rate to a progressive tax rate of up to 8%. This year, Iowa changed from a progressive tax rate to a flat tax rate lower than ours. Also, this year, Iowa passed a heartbeat bill, which bans most abortions after detection of a fetal heartbeat. In 2019, Illinois Democrats expanded abortion laws that allow for abortion at any time for any reason, and taxpayers fund it. If conservative reform can happen in other states, then it can happen in Illinois. Leadership matters. When you go into the voting booth, vote for the candidate who will disrupt the system and lead the conservative revolt that has eluded the state for decades. I'm Jeannie Ives. Find out more at breakthrough-ideas.com. That's breakthrough-ideas.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm sleeping better. I wake up better. I was so groggy all the time. I didn't want to get up. When I wake up, I'm awake. I've got more energy. It's with my situation. I had 2 surgeries a year ago within 3 months. I had a hip replaced and a major back surgery. The circumstances where the surgeries were close together, and they knocked me down pretty good. And I'm feeling much stronger now. I just bought a bicycle, ready to start getting back into shape because I have the energy to do so.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Would you like a cleaning product that can be used in the garage, the laundry, and the kitchen that'll save space in your cabinet? To learn more, visit simplegreen.com.
740 on AM 560, The Answer. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. DeSable Lakeshore Drive, solid traffic. It had been shut down on the southbound side between Balboa and the Stevenson for quite some time. Now just solid traffic, accident removed, and things are beginning to move, but it's very slow. DuSable Lakeshore Drive southbound between Balboa and the Stevenson Expressway. On the toll roads, Tri-State northbound is jammed up between the Ike and the Bensonville Bridge. Tri-State southbound, O'Hare Oasis to the Bensonville Bridge, very slow. Also, a disabled vehicle blocking a right lane southbound at Willow Road. On the Reagan, I-88 inbound between Cermak Road and the Tri-State jammed up. Veterans slow northbound between Maple and Finley. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny and nice, high 85. Currently 61. Next news coming up at 8. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving
Top of the
out.
morning, Dan and Amy on this election day. We're sharing election day stories of Cook County, present and past, because that's what you do if you live in Chicago. Here's one from a dentist friend of mine before we get to our friend Ted. That was his theme music, of course. You know.
Yes, of course.
My son and I, of course, have the same first and last name, different middle initials. He right now lives in an adjacent district, but when he lived with us and voted, he inadvertently signed my voter card with his signature. Now both of our signatures are illegible, but completely differently illegible. Every time I now go and sign for my ballot, his signature comes up, and I've never been questioned. It's been going on for years now. So, I mean, it just sort of speaks to that that signature requirement, and maybe, you know, I mean, I don't want to destroy our democracy, but maybe a good example of one of the rationales for voter ID, in addition to the ease of purpose that we were hearing about from election judges like Maddie, Norland Park, and others. Just, you know, you put it on that scanner if you want to, you volunteer to, and it just makes it easier to get you identified, get you your ballot, and be on your merry way. But again, I don't want to destroy democracy or be accused of it. Oh, heavens, if the left, if the new Marxists would accuse me of destroying democracy, gosh, I just don't know if I could bear it. Ted Dabrowski, President, WirePoints.com, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. It's a beautiful election day.
Did you vote on this beautiful election day?
No, I will go vote right after this call. I wanted to, get all the energy I could before I go.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Do we
You're gonna
dare
have
ask?
to you're gonna have to fight through those pro-abort North Shore Harridans burning their bras in front of the polling place or something in lieu of the or in light of the Dobbs holding, I suspect.
I'm gonna have to run in and run out. So.
What about just on the matter of election integrity? I mean, that's a policy issue, and I wonder how much you and the WirePoints crew have looked into this over the years, how Illinois administers its elections, since that's a state and local matter primarily.
Yeah, it's something we haven't delved into and haven't spent the time to go into like other groups have. But I always look at just the amount of corruption we have in Illinois overall, and it's pretty easy to think that we have a very flawed system. Whether it switches election results or not, I don't know, but I know that we're going to have that. And all you need to do is, and we talked about this the other day, is look at the unemployment insurance fraud that we have. When you can have so much fraud so easily, in a system that in theory has checks and balances, then you can easily have fraud in voting. And when you talk about the examples you've been giving, it's easy. I had a chance to work on one campaign myself, and had very limited money to support elections, and it was amazing. Once you have a little bit of money, people come out of nowhere to help. So I imagine Illinois is fraught with a lot of problems, but it's something we haven't delved into directly.
What kind of role do you think Pritzker played in getting his preferred opponent to be elected today? Like, how much money did he personally spend on attack ads for said candidate?
The numbers are huge, right? And I was just reading over all those numbers in the millions. I have no idea what Pritzker's done. Everybody knows, if you're out there, that Pritzker and the Democrats prefer a Bailey. That's what they've said all along. They signaled it and they pushed it. So it's no surprise. They think that they downplay a farmer, they downplay a guy with a Southern accent, they downplay a guy who's from down there. But we'll find out whether that's a mistake or not. But that's just typical. It's just typical of how they treat people. They don't care about policy. They don't care about anything. They would rather just
and it's
they sound like snobs.
And it's typical of how combine Quisling Republicans treat people too, which is to, if Pritzker says it, it must be true.
Well, yeah, not just Pritzker, but others as well, right? Even Republicans, and that's not here to endorse Bailey or any of the other candidates. As WirePoints, we're a 501c3, so we don't do that. But we do talk about their policies, and Bailey has been a staunch opponent of a lot of the failed policies that Pritzker's brought along. He's been against all the executive orders, against the COVID response, against the CRT and sex ed agenda. So it's. I think he's been right on policy. Whether he can win the election or not, or whether he can first win the primary, we have to see. But certainly, a farmer with a Southern accent's been right on the right side of policy.
I like what Chicago is doing, and with the help of their comm shop, the Chicago Press Corps, people like Greg Hines, writing over at Crane Chicago Business, the anti-business business magazine in Chicago. Fortune 500 CEOs, we know you can't come to Chicagoland, Chicago specifically, for the business environment. You come for the values. You come so you can stand on a stage with Lori Lightfoot and tell Clarence Thomas to go frack himself. That's why you come here. It's for our values.
Yeah, it's the only way. One way to say it is pathetic. It's businesses are there to make money. They're to be in states that are growing, that are attracting people, that are vibrant, that manage their affairs well, that care about their credit ratings. Illinois is none of those. Illinois is going to an extreme. And I think, if there's any good news in what Illinois is doing, is that they're going so extreme, it's becoming obvious to anybody who's not extreme that it's going crazy. And the more extreme they become, even speaking about the abortion issue and Pritzker, calling a special session on that, is that they're just proving how far they will
calling
go.
a special session.
It's
what is there
What
left
they
to
do,
do?
right.
What is there left to do in a special session on the Dobbs decision, overturning Roe v. Wade? What is there left to do? We have abortion on demand, all 9 months, taxpayer funded. Are we going to go after kindergartners? Are we going to try and level it up to 4th grade?
No, there's a lot more to do, because you have to remember, and if you look at the map of the states around us, they're putting more and more bans on abortion. And there's going to be tons of people coming here. They need lots more taxpayer money to support the thousands and tens of thousands that are going to come from.
Right.
And that's what they want. They want more people. They want regulations changed so they can have more workers.
Is that why we need to build? Is that why we need to build a high-speed rail? Is to get people from other states in here to get their abortions and get out?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. It's going to be, they're going to the extreme, and I think there will be, there's a good chance, a good campaign run by anybody on the Republican side. There's so many failed policies right now, and it's so extreme on the Democratic side that there's a chance, and people don't think that the Republicans can do it, but it's all these things we're on the extreme side in Illinois.
And people, they should not forget that RAs and nurses are allowed to perform abortions in the state of Illinois, and Pritzker is going to be offering scholarships to try and recruit abortionists to the state. But who's going to pay for all this? I mean, we're going to go from 34,000 to 50,000 plus abortions a year, and where are we going to get the money? Why is this taxpayer-funded abortions? Even for people out of state.
To Dan's point.
Why is it? Because they're ideologues. That's why. Yeah, right. And they're going to move that for the abortions.
Our tax base is going to go up. Yeah.
No, they're just going to do what these peahats in corporate America are announcing they're going to do. We'll pay you up to $4,000 to take a trip to Chicago to get your abortion, then come back because it's better than maternity leave. Wonderful corporate America.
Yeah, it's it's just more the extreme.
So with respect to the letter writing campaign to CEOs, one CEO who will not be returning the letter is Ken Griffin. So the impact of Citadel moving its corporate headquarters to Miami, I mean, do you see the CME group going next? I mean, what do you see, if anything, the potential domino effect will be?
Well, it's got to scare the big corporations who were nervous about being here. CME and others have threatened for years, and it's the same thing with Caterpillar. They threatened for years. They were very clear about their unhappiness with the situation in Illinois, and they finally, acted. You get to a moment where there's a decision point that needs to be made, a new CEO or whatever it is, and they've left. And when you hear Caterpillar and when you hear the Citadel, such a big move. These are very wealthy people, very influential people, and they're taking the whole tax base is moving out, and that means less growth in Illinois. That means the tax burden on those corporations who are remaining increases, and the remaining people increases. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of more companies needing to leave. You got to watch out for that vicious cycle, and I think we're in it.
Just real quick, I mean, I know we don't care about these things, but Governor Spalding continues to run around talking about how he balanced the budget, and by the way, without that before the federal money, which is another layer of comedy. But the Auditor General, the Illinois State Auditor General, seems to disagree with the governor.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating, and I like to see it when these reports come out like that. So the Auditor General just pointed out that we have been underpaying the last 4 years by $4 billion a year to our pensions. So any claim of a balanced budget
that should work out well.
It's just a lie. It's that's all it is. It's a lie, and we kid ourselves. They make it official. It's a balanced budget, but the reality is that Illinoisans are left in more debt, and and the governor gets to pretend like he's done something great.
It's an election year lie. That's what I call them.
Well, I think they're going to get called out on it. And look, the pension crisis and the budget crisis, nobody talks about that right now. It's a non-issue, and that's because of the $200 billion that came in to bail out the state and federal money. But as the stock market declines, as interest rates shoot up, and the recession, I guess the likelihood of a recession continues to increase. Watch out, because all those bad numbers that we used to talk about will be back.
Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.com, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have fun voting. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
This is it. Your last chance to win the new $15 million prize of a lifetime from Publishers Clearinghouse. Today is the last day to enter to win $15 million on June 30th. So you must enter at PCH.com before it's too late. $15 million, all for you. But time is running out, so enter now at PCH.com. The $15 million prize of a lifetime. Don't miss your last chance to win it this June 30th. Final day to enter at PCH.com. Entries due 6/28. No purchase necessary. Prize paid at least $390,000 annually. Void or prohibited.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with expertise and tools with Windows 11 to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. To do more with a Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Bobby Piton, and I'm running for the United States Senate. I'm a God-first U.S. constitutionalist candidate. Father of 5, my parents survived World War II and communism in Poland and were graced by God and the American people to be allowed to immigrate to the United States. For the past 19 months, I have been working relentlessly to return the favor by restoring the will of the American people through my work on voter integrity. I have fielded questions by Mayor Rudy Giuliani at the Arizona State Senate hearings, testified at the Georgia State Senate hearings, and exposed fraud in Pennsylvania. I have become friends with and have been endorsed by General Michael Flynn. Please vote for me in the primary on June 28th and visit me at bobbypiton.com to find out more. Thank you and God bless. Paid for by my campaign, Piton for U.S. Senate.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Fellow Republicans, this is Dan Patlack, Republican leader and former commissioner at the Cook County Board of Tax Review. When Sean Morrison joined the county board in 2015, I watched with interest to see how he would perform. After several years, I came to the conclusion that Sean was administering his office with integrity and working in the best interests of his constituents. This year, in the Republican primary, Sean has been the victim of character assassination of the worst kind by a phony Republican opponent, Liz Gorman, who has been called a weasel by a federal judge and someone who is not to be believed when he ruled against her in a $4 million lawsuit. Voters cannot trust Liz Gorman. We need to keep Sean Morrison on the county board where he stands up for us against Kim Foxx and Tony Preckwinkle. Don't be fooled by Liz Gorman's nasty attacks and outright lies against Commissioner Morrison. Please cast your vote for Sean Morrison, a real Republican we can depend on.
Paid for by voters for Sean M. Morrison.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Rich Irvin does not seem to understand how hard the taxpayers work for the money.
That's former Aurora Alderman Rick Lawrence, who wants you to know what he knows about Mayor Richard Irvin. So does real estate developer Dan Heitz, who said Aurora businesses needed Richard Irvin to stand with them against Pritzker's shutdown, but Irvin stood with Pritzker instead, says Heitz.
He followed Pritzker's lead, and he didn't stand up for the people of Aurora. He stood up for big government and big governor.
When Aurora residents needed Richard Irvin to protect them from rioters, Irvin stood with Black Lives Matter, according to Alderman Rick Lawrence.
Our police were told to stand down.
Dan Heitz remembers.
Basically, Richard Irvin dropped the ball. Protesters started rioting and burning. Police just standing there watching.
Richard Irvin stood with a governor who locked down Illinois and rioters who burned down his own city. It's time for Illinois conservatives to stand up and vote no on Richard Irvin.
If anybody confuses Rich Irvin with a conservative, they really didn't do their homework.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
The following is a paid political announcement.
What are you reading?
About Gary Rabine, the Republican candidate for governor. I really like him.
What about those other guys spending all that money on TV?
If their ads indicate how they'll run Illinois, forget them. Gary Rabine cares about the real issues: crime, corruption, the culture war, and taxes.
I'm Gary Rabine. I can and will beat Pritzker. Let's turn Illinois around. It's Rabine time.
Paid for by Rabine for governor.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Across northern Illinois, Republicans are talking, and they are saying that the nomination of Judge John Novarini will give Republicans the best chance to win a majority on the Illinois Supreme Court.
Judge Novarini is a committed Christian. As a family law judge, he always protected parents' rights and our children.
As presiding judge of the Criminal Law Division, Novarini always understood the punishment needs to fit the crime.
Novarini is fiercely independent and not beholden to the trial lawyers or any special interest group.
John Novarini, a consistent conservative judicial philosophy. No surprises on the bench.
On Tuesday, June 28th, nominate Judge John Novarini for the Illinois Supreme Court in the 2nd Judicial District Republican primary. Endorsed by Republican leaders Chris Lawson in Kane County, Sheriff Bill Prim and Cal Skinner in McHenry, and pro-family leader David Smith. Paid for by Citizens for Novarini. Mike Bonovolanto, Treasurer.
News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com. On the AM 560 mobile app. Tune in, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Were they victims of human smuggling? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
A worker who works in one of the buildings up here behind me heard a cry for help.
San Antonio Police Chief William McManus says that cry was coming from an 18-wheeler crammed with migrants. Fox's Evan Brown says they found a lot of bodies among the survivors.
46 were pronounced dead. More than a dozen, including children, were suffering from heat exhaustion and dehydration, says Fire Chief Charles Hood.
No signs of water in the vehicle. It was a refrigerated tractor trailer, but there was no visible working AC unit on that rig.
3 people are in custody. The NTSB is sending a crew to Missouri to investigate why an Amtrak train slammed into a dump truck at a rural crossing with no flashing lights.
8 cars derailed, throwing the passengers all around as it slid to a stop in the culvert. Those passengers then broke out windows and helped each other up and out, grateful to be alive. But not everyone survived. 3 people total died, the driver of the dump truck and 2 passengers. 50 people were also hurt, with some going to the hospital for treatment.
Matt Stewart with Fox 4 TV in Mendon, Missouri. The House committee led by Democrats investigating last year's Capitol riot has another hearing this afternoon. A former aide to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will testify. President Biden is on his way to Spain for NATO talks after leading the G7 summit of world leaders in the Alps. Aboard Air Force One with him, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said,
"Obviously, Ukraine will be top of mind. Russia's ongoing brutality, most recently on display with this gruesome and horrific attack on the shopping center yesterday."
That attack left 18 people dead. A boat is washed ashore in the Azores Islands with no sign of the North Carolina man last seen on it 7 months ago. 2,700 miles from where Joseph Johnson went missing on a fishing trip. Johnson's mother still praying he'll be found in a miraculous rescue. America's listening to Fox.
Sunshine and 64 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560 The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Election day for the Illinois primary. Polls open till 7 tonight. AM 560 will have complete coverage of returns and candidate reaction tonight beginning after the polls close. A Cicero teen is charged this morning in a deadly shooting from last November along I-55. Following an investigation, a man was arrested June 6 and charged with murder. Now, over the weekend, a 17-year-old was also arrested and charged with murder in that shooting. He's being held without bond at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. A Florida man is dead after rescuing a girl in northwest Indiana off Porter Beach. Thomas Kenning noticed a girl struggling in Lake Michigan. He reached that juvenile, helped her to safety, before he himself went under the water and did not resurface. Lifeguards pulled him from the water. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. 2 more boys are dead following a fire on Chicago's west side. It happened over the weekend and started in the basement of a home in the 4000 block of West Potomac. A 4th child this morning remains hospitalized in critical condition. Angels beat the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim, while the Cubs take on the Reds tonight, and the Blackhawks have a new head coach. Luke Richardson was hired. He spent the last 4 seasons as an assistant with the Canadiens, 21 years in the NHL. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now, danamy247.com. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
At a meeting of the world's leading democratic economies, some agreement at the G7 summit, including on developing a price cap on Russian oil and providing billions in food assistance to help stave off a hunger crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. World leaders now gathering at the NATO summit in Madrid. One of the world's largest auditing firms, Ernst & Young, has been hit with a $100 million fine because hundreds of its auditors cheated on ethics tests they were required to take to get or maintain their professional licenses. And the company withheld evidence of the misconduct from federal authorities who were investigating the matter, according to the SEC, which called the action a breach of trust by gatekeepers within the gatekeeper entrusted to audit many of our nation's public companies. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Remember this name, Kathy Salvi. Recent Illinois polls show conservatives are rallying behind Kathy Salvi for Senate. Kathy Salvi's a trusted conservative with a long record of protecting the unborn and Second Amendment rights. And Kathy Salvi is the Republicans' best chance at defeating Duckworth. On June 28th, vote for trusted conservative Kathy Salvi for Senate and ruin Joe Biden's day. Paid for by Kathy Salvi for U.S. Senate.
I'm Kathy Salvi, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Attention. Hi, I'm attorney Anthony Mancini of the Mancini Law Group. If you or a loved one used a CPAP device manufactured by Philips Respironics for 6 months or longer and afterwards developed cancer or respiratory illness, you could be eligible for financial compensation. Philips Respironics manufactured CPAP devices using known cancer-causing materials. Contact the Mancini Law Group for a no-cost case evaluation.
If you or a loved one used a Philips Respironics CPAP machine for more than 6 months and consequently were diagnosed with cancer or a respiratory illness, you may be eligible for financial compensation. Contact the Mancini Law Group for a no-cost case evaluation at 773-745-1909. That's 773-745-1909. Or online at ManciniLaw.com. That's ManciniLaw.com.
Is your prostate secretly being destroyed without you knowing it? All the ads for these prostate pills like Super Beta Prostate, Saw Palmetto, ProstaStream, Prostagenics, and others want to know which pills work and which are garbage? Now you can. Get a free copy of the new guide, Prostate Secrets, that pulls back the curtain on the prostate pill industry. Learn what is really in these pills. Which pill has over 987 adverse event reports filed against it with the FDA? It's shocking. Learn the one food to avoid that is a prostate killer, and discover the 3 so-called health foods that destroy your prostate. Get your free copy at prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com. This free guide will show you how to end your prostate problems without drugs or surgery, 5 important things to do to protect your prostate, and much more. Warning, this guide is controversial and may be offensive to some readers as it pulls no punches. So go to prostatesecrets.com. prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com.
This is it, your last chance to win the new $15 million prize of a lifetime from Publishers Clearinghouse. Today is the last day to enter to win $15 million on June 30th, so you must enter at PCH.com before it's too late. $15 million, all for you. But time is running out, so enter now at PCH.com. The $15 million prize of a lifetime. Don't miss your last chance to win it this June 30th. Final day to enter at PCH.com. Entries due 6/28. No purchase necessary. Prize paid at least $390,000 annually. Void or prohibited.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with expertise and tools with Windows 11 to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. To do more with a Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads now. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And it is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Subscribe free. am560theanswer.com/podcasts. Edens inbound 17 Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy inbound 44 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound the flip trip out to the junction in 1939 back out to O'Hare. Ike inbound 44 390 to the old post office. Stevenson is right now running at 35 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Accident right shoulder on the outbound Stevenson at First Avenue. It is 21 minutes outbound to the Tri-State. 18 minutes on the inbound Dan Ryan, 95th into the Burns Circle. Traffic is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sunshine today, the high at 85. Partly cloudy, some rain tonight, low 66. For tomorrow, clouds and sun, high 85. Sunny to partly cloudy, breezy, a hot day on Thursday, the high at 92. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
64 degrees at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A couple weeks ago, as we were tackling once again the carnage on the streets of Chicago, I suggested, maybe rather than just focusing on the lack of prosecution of repeat violent offenders by Kim Foxx, the fecklessness of the political power structure in Chicago, from the mayor's office to the chief judge's office, to the Cook County State's Attorney's office, to the sheriff's office, to the leadership of the CPD under Superintendent Brown. Maybe we should hear more and just try and focus more on some of the victims and their families, to the extent their families are willing to speak. Maybe that will have more resonance. Maybe that will generate more attention, so we don't just look at these numbers coming on Monday after a weekend as just the, like treat them like an index, like we just treat people's deaths and or maimings as numbers.
Well, we did with this 5-month-old girl who was shot. I mean, it was just kind of mentioned and then moved on.
Well,
it wasn't as if they were out at midnight or what. They were out at 6 p.m. at night. It was still bright light outside, and some thug shot 4 shots through the back of the car, and it went through the trunk and killed the baby fatally, a fatal shot to the head.
Well, another such family member of a victim is speaking out. Gianno Caldwell. I knew Gianno, I believe, when he was working for the Treasurer's Office. He was working out DuPage County way before he became a big shot, and a political analyst at Fox News. He's the host of a podcast, Out Loud with Gianno Caldwell, the sworn enemy of PC culture. One of those individuals killed this weekend, shooting death this weekend, was his 18-year-old brother, Christian, who was killed, innocent bystander, as I understand it from the reporting and from what Gianno had to say about it. Innocent bystander in Morgan Park. He was shot and killed over the weekend. And this is what Gianno has said about it in part.
Horrific. And I'm going to tell you, I would rather not be sitting here doing this interview with you. I really would rather be with my family, consoling them. But there's 4 men, black offenders, who jumped out of an SUV with dreads, who need to be captured and prosecuted.
Gianno Caldwell, a Fox News political analyst, speaking out about the life.
My baby boy. Every time I try to keep it together. I'm sorry. He was a comedian, kind of like his big brother me. He was fun to be around, just a loving kid, loved to travel.
And tragic death of his little brother, 18-year-old Christian, who Caldwell said he helped to raise.
He called me. I was kind of like his father. He never knew his father, so when it came to his needs, financial, clothes, whatever. I was the one who would provide that in addition to my grandmother.
We're pleased now to be joined by the aforesaid Gianno Caldwell. Gianno, thanks for joining us. Very sorry, of course, for your brothers, the loss of your brothers. Our condolences to you and your family. Do we have Gianno?
Yours like yours. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gianno. Go ahead.
Gianno? Yeah. It's so important for me to do shows like yours because you guys have an audience that is actually based in Chicago who may know something, who may have a tip, who may know what happened on Friday at 114 South Vincennes. They may know what happened that Friday night, or rather morning. They may have information that they can share with the police, or they can DM me on Instagram or Facebook at Gianno Caldwell and give us leads. So it was so important that while I'm here in Chicago, that I visit with the local affiliates, the local news stations, newspapers, and do interviews to drive individuals who may know something to tip in and hopefully and prayerfully bring justice to my little baby brother, Christian.
Well, tell us what happened. Tell us what you know.
So what was said by the police and reported is on Friday morning, my younger brother was outside of a venue. He was outside of a venue on 114th Street when 3 to 4 men pulled up in a black SUV and they just began firing. 3 people were hit in total. My little brother, a young lady, and another man. The young lady, she's okay. She got shot in the leg, but she's going to be fine. The guy that was there, he was shot, rushed into surgery, I believe still in critical condition. And my little brother never had the opportunity to be in critical condition. He was murdered on the scene.
Was this a case of mistaken identity, or do you think what was this?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. The police say they don't know what it was either. So I'll wait for the facts and let the investigation proceed, and then go from there. But what we do know is what the police has informed us. The reporting supports a lot of that. Not all the reporting has been accurate. There was 50 shell cases found at the scene. So I have absolutely no idea how that happened. What I do know is my little brother didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to be murdered. He just turned 18 this year. We were talking about colleges. I was talking to him about flying him out to come spend time with me and visit with me for the summer. Those were the conversations we were having. So this is not, heartbroken doesn't describe how I feel or how my family feels. Shattered is more like it. And the fact that I'm actually on the phone with you guys versus being with my family says something, because we desperately need to know what happened. We desperately need to drive tips. We absolutely need justice for my baby brother, Christian.
In that clip that we played from an interview you gave where you talked about guys in dreads that got out of this car or shot from this car. So how do you,
SUV.
As black SUV. So how do you know that, and give us as much detail on that as you know?
Well, that's what the officers have said. That's what the reporting is saying. Now, how any other information I don't really have at this time. I've been reaching out to everyone I know, whether it be state elected officials, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, who has the Chicago Superintendent of Police within their membership, making sure that the Superintendent of Police views this as a priority and ensuring that there's justice for my baby brother. So those have been my focus in driving the media, certainly to cover the story, because if he wasn't connected to me, if he wasn't my baby brother, no one would know his name. And I know that to be the case because I saw a reporting from a local affiliate Friday night before I revealed that it was my brother, and it just says 18-year-old man shot and 2 others. That was it.
Yeah.
No one would even know his name.
Yeah. Well, I know. It's hard for this 5-month-old girl to get any publicity,
It is.
too.
And that's
It's
the
so
point, and I've been
strange.
mentioning that in the press. Yeah, absolutely. If she wasn't an infant, no one would care about that story.
Well, she is
either.
an
It's
infant. I don't
because
feel like
of the
people, sorry for interrupting, but she is an infant, and I feel like nobody's covering it. And I know there are other bigger, announcements with the Roe v. Wade being overturned, but now we're just numb to this, so we don't even cover that. I mean,
It's become a culture of death in this city. That's why.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We went to a balloon release yesterday for my baby brother to celebrate his life. I've never been to one of those things ever in my life. It was about family and other community members. It was about 60 of us. And I brought people together, and I said, well, I've never been to a balloon release before, and you should have saw the crowd. It was kind of like, what? You never been to one? You know, it's that people expect this. A young man that was there, I talked to him because I made sure that I said hello to everyone. He said that he just came from the hospital. I said, for what? He said, my dad was shot. I said, what? I'm so sorry. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of how it is. And I'm like, wait a second. This is just such normal that you can go down the streets of Chicago and it's a death sentence on your life. You're just waiting for your number to be pulled?
Well, I don't know if you...
Some are shot twice.
I don't know if you remember just a few weeks ago that mass shooting outside the McDonald's on State in Chicago.
Yeah.
And one of the girls who was there, who was witness, told the local news, she's like, you know, I knew when it was happening, like I needed to run because I've been here before. And she's like, I've been shot at and shot before. And so, yeah, it is, this becomes, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, this becomes part of your expectation of living in Chicago. And there's just no sadder commentary.
It is beyond sad. No American city should be in this set of circumstances. The soft on crime strategy that has been had by the leaders in this city must end. We have to unhandcuff the police. They need to be able to do their jobs without the fear of having people complain about them without an affidavit. Like some of these policies have kind of been pushed out, where police say, you know what, hands up, I'm not even going to get involved. I'm not going to get involved. I'm just going to sit here for my 30, collect my pension, and just move on because it's not worth it anymore. No one wants to really do their job because, one, they know they're not supported by their leadership in general, and I'm talking about city leadership. I'm not naming anyone specific, but folks don't feel supported. Prosecutors have been demoralized. Everyone's been demoralized. The people who are supposed to bring justice to these kind of situations. And it continues to happen, and we continue to see the police handcuffed, and they're not able to really do much of anything. That needs to change.
Gianno, tell us, I mean, you mentioned in other interviews about how you were like a father figure to your brother Christian. Tell us a little bit more about your family. I know a little bit about it, and it's an interesting story, and I just want to put as much of a human face on this as possible. So the background here.
So we grew up really poor on the south side of Chicago, lights, gas, and water off at the same time. Mom addicted to drugs, so our mom gave temporary custody of me and my siblings to her mother so she can go to rehab. Now, during that process, when she would leave a rehab, go back, leave, go back, she was having more kids, and my grandmother would bring them into the family and adopt them. So I got 3 little brothers who've never known who their father was. And as a teenager, I started working for the federal government part-time really early. I was 16 years old. I would take care of them. I would take them to museums. I would take them ice skating. I would buy them clothes. I was their big brother, but I was their dad too, because they never had a father. They never really had a father figure outside of me. So that's the relationship in which we have. And this doesn't just feel like my little brother dying. It feels like my son being murdered. No one can imagine what that feels like. And as we continue to search for answers and pray for justice, I can't even grieve because I have to stand strong. I have to stand strong and be there for my baby brother and be an advocate for him. Sorry about the background.
No, that's all right.
So, Gianno, in your heart of hearts, do you think that police will find who killed your little brother?
I pray and hope that they do, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. He was just murdered on Friday. I'm doing press on Saturday and Monday and Tuesday and trying to make sure that people know who he is, see his picture, know that he was a good kid. That's what I want people to know. I want people to call in and tip the police and tell them what they know. That's why it was so important to do your show today. That's why it's going to be so important to do GCI and Power 92, the urban stations. because someone knows something, or probably a lot of people know something, and we need them to tell. So that's where we are right now. I need justice for my baby brother, and my family needs to heal.
Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst, host of the podcast Out Loud with Gianno Caldwell, the sworn enemy of PC culture. And obviously, as Gianno said, if you know anything about what happened on Friday night in Morgan Park where his brother Christian was murdered, please either contact Gianno directly on social media or contact the Chicago police. Gianno, thanks so much for joining us again. Sorry for the loss of your brother. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
It seems like everyone is on a complicated diet these days. Gluten-free, keto, metabolic, sugar-free. And with these diets comes special dietary protocol and food products. You can find plenty of advice on your social media sites, but you need expertise to purchase the right food items. A visit to Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop is necessary to shop the best food choices for a medical diet or health plan. Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop stocks all the hard-to-find foods you're looking for, like wheat and dairy alternatives, sugar-free baking mixes, healthy snacks, and more. There's no longer a reason to put off that diet you're supposed to be on when you have Lil's. The staff has personally researched and vetted each item in the store and has plenty of choices in stock.
Lil's Dietary Specialty Shop on 111th Street in Mount Greenwood on the south side of Chicago. Stop in and shop in person or order online at lilsdietary.com and get your items shipped right to your home. lilsdietary.com. Shop, learn, and be healthy.
Summer is here, and as the great John Denver sang, sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. You know what else makes me happy? It makes my doctor happy. Keeping my blood pressure in check. 120 Life helps me do that. That's right. I drink 120 Life, the superfood juice, every day to manage my blood pressure, keep it in check. Tastes good, refreshing on ice. You've heard me talking about it all year long. I want you to check it out. I love it. I know you will too. 120 Life juice drink is formulated with 6 natural ingredients that all have amazing health benefits like beetroot, pomegranate, and cherry juice. I feel better drinking it. 120 Life comes in a convenient 8-ounce bottle that makes it easy to enjoy at work or out on the golf course. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use the coupon code DAN to save 10% on your order plus free shipping. If for some reason 120 Life doesn't work for you, no problem. They'll give you your money back. That's guaranteed. 120 Life makes it simple. We need more stuff like this.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Tammy Duckworth is running for U.S. Senate again. She has failed the people of Illinois and veterans. Illinois needs a strong conservative voice in Washington, D.C. I'm Peggy Hubbard, and I'm an America First conservative voice. I am pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and I will fight for our military, veterans, and law enforcement. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy, former police officer, and retired IRS tax analyst. And I will work hard to bring law and order back to Illinois, pushing back against the establishment Democrats and rhinos. I am unbought and unbossed, and I will only work for the constituents of the state of Illinois. But I need your help on June 28th, the primary for the state of Illinois. I'm the only candidate in this race who has been fighting the political establishment the last 3 years, and the only candidate to take on Tammy Duckworth this November. Please visit my website, peggyhubbard.org, for more information. I'm Peggy Hubbard, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Peggy Hubbard for U.S. Senate.
All right. He's doing it. Tom Jones for UnitedWePledge.org. That's where you go. You can track him. He has a few days left. He's running 76 marathons in 76 days to raise money for American Village West. To find out about that and how you could help, again, go to UnitedWePledge.org. Their goal is to raise $55 million. Let's go. Okay. Hopefully they can do it, and they want to do it to, teach the youngins about the Constitution, how this great country was formed. So go to UnitedWePledge.org and find out all the information. And why I'm talking about it is because Tom Jones, don't you know, he takes Balance of Nature. 6 capsules, you're getting 10 servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. And he needs it right now because of all that, all those calories he's burning. But a lot of people take it because they don't eat enough fruits and veggies on their own. Don't eat the daily recommended allowance of fruits and vegetables, and that's where Balance of Nature comes in. 35% off your new preferred order of fruits and veggies. Free shipping always. So start your journey to better health now. Call 800-246-8751. That's 246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
For armed or unarmed security, average isn't good enough. You deserve more. You need more.
Morrison means more.
Morrison Security. More deterrence and prevention with customized programs that fit your budget. Cost-effective, sensible solutions for all businesses and facilities.
Morrison means more.
More peace of mind, knowing your security guards are well-trained professionals with a track record of getting results and serving exactly your needs. Morrison Security personnel are constantly trained for readiness and are prepared for any given situation that can occur at a job site.
Morrison means more.
More reliability of management for quick and effective solutions at your property. Morrison Security is responsive. They're always available to you.
Morrison means more.
More awareness of any challenges you face with protecting people, property, and assets. For armed and unarmed security, don't settle for substandard or average. Security is too important. Contact them and find out how you can get more. MorrisonSecurity.com. MorrisonSecurity.com.
Morrison means more.
Are you growing your manufacturing team this year and need new employees? Turn to Monarch Technical Services in Rolling Meadows. They've been leading the Chicago staffing industry for manufacturing and engineering since 1987. You'll appreciate their vetting process. They meet every candidate in person to interview and test for specific skills. Monarch assesses experience by using blueprint, shop math, part measurement, and CNC program exams. Their quality skills assessor was once a plant manager who worked on manufacturing equipment, so he recognizes who has the skills necessary to fit each job requirement. Monarch Technical now offers a 30-day free trial with any day one direct hire. This allows you to make sure direct hire employees are fitting in before fees are paid. And they have a unique fee payment option which allows the finder's fee to be paid in 6 equal monthly payments. If you're growing your manufacturing team this year and searching for exceptional talent, contact Monarch Technical Services at 847-342-1221 or online at monarchtechnical.com. And if you're interested in starting a career in manufacturing or have experience, visit monarchtechnical.com to upload your resume.
Attention. Hi, I'm attorney Anthony Mancini of the Mancini Law Group. If you or a loved one used a CPAP device manufactured by Philips Respironics for 6 months or longer and afterwards developed cancer or respiratory illness, you could be eligible for financial compensation. Philips Respironics manufactured CPAP devices using known cancer-causing materials. Contact the Mancini Law Group for a no-cost case evaluation.
If you or a loved one used a Philips Respironics CPAP machine for more than 6 months and consequently were diagnosed with cancer or a respiratory illness, you may be eligible for financial compensation. Contact the Mancini Law Group for a no-cost case evaluation at 773-745-1909. That's 773-745-1909. Or online at ManciniLaw.com. That's ManciniLaw.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hillary Clinton sounds off on Clarence Thomas. We'll start there with Matthew Schmitz, founder and editor of Compact Magazine, 838.
And Dan's Angels will explain, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
69 degrees at 8:32 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Election day for the Illinois primary. 7 p.m. polls are expected to close. Chevron selling its giant California headquarters, moving all of their employees to Texas. An aide to former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows will reportedly testify today in an abruptly added public hearing to the committee investigating the January 6th rioting. Russia denying its missiles hit a shopping mall Monday in the Ukrainian city of Kremchuk. Moscow saying the missiles hit a nearby arms depot instead, and that may have started a fire. The death toll in Texas is up to 50 found trapped in the back of a sweltering trailer of an 18-wheeler in San Antonio. Authorities say there was no water, no air conditioning. 16 migrants, including 4 children, were hospitalized.
Came out to investigate, found a trailer with the doors partially open, opened them up to take a look, and found a number of deceased individuals inside.
Ghislaine Maxwell will find out how many years she'll spend behind bars this morning. 55 years is the recommended sentence. Her attorneys are pushing for well below 20 years. Maxwell was found guilty in federal court of procuring teenage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Chicago sports. Last night, it was the Angels over the White Sox 4-3 in Anaheim, while the Cubs take on the Reds tonight, and the Blackhawks have a new head coach, Luke Richardson. The News is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't see the left letting up.
You think they're going to give Ron DeSantis any peace? They're going to see Ron DeSantis as Donald Trump 2.0. They're not going to give him any peace. It's going to be just as bad. That's how they play ball. They break the law. That's what they're doing outside the Supreme Court justices' homes. The Democrats don't care.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you know how many sump pumps fail? That's right, all of them. But do you know who to call when you need to replace that pump? Well, that would be Permaseal. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. Each year we install more sump pumps than any other contractor in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. We install the most reliable pumps with solid warranties. We install backup pumps, maintenance-free batteries, and chargers. Our licensed plumbers also install ejector pumps and sewer backup systems. Our service department offers annual preventive maintenance to ensure your sump pit is clean, pumps are working, and the discharge line and check valves are leak-free. Permaseal is also home to the Basement Defender, the only device that will test your pumps every day and send you an alert of a problem before an emergency arises. Sump pumps, you know who to call, Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL, that's 800-421-7325, or visit permaseal.net.
Young, best for being better, Permaseal.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Rich Irvin does not seem to understand how hard the taxpayers work for the money.
That's former Aurora Alderman Rick Lawrence, who wants you to know what he knows about Mayor Richard Irvin. So does real estate developer Dan Heitz, who said Aurora businesses needed Richard Irvin to stand with them against Pritzker's shutdown, but Irvin stood with Pritzker instead, says Heitz.
He followed Pritzker's lead, and he didn't stand up for the people of Aurora. He stood up for big government and big governor.
When Aurora residents needed Richard Irvin to protect them from rioters, Irvin stood with Black Lives Matter, according to Alderman Rick Lawrence.
Our police were told to stand down.
Dan Heitz remembers.
Basically, Richard Irvin dropped the ball. Protesters started rioting and burning. Police just standing there watching.
Richard Irvin stood with a governor who locked down Illinois and rioters who burned down his own city. It's time for Illinois conservatives to stand up and vote no on Richard Irvin.
If anybody confuses Rich Irvin with a conservative, they really didn't do their homework.
Paid for by people who play by the rules pack.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Bobby Piton, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Are you tired of high oil prices, runaway immigration, sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, food prices skyrocketing, the economy being shut down, bogus mandates, sexualization of our children, and more? Well, so am I. I'm the father of 5, and I've been fighting relentlessly for the past 19 months to restore the voice of the American people. I've testified in Arizona as well as Georgia and helped prove that fraud exists in multiple states. Please support my primary run by voting for me on June 28th. You can visit me at bobbypiton.com, and I have been endorsed by countless patriots, including General Flynn. Paid for by my campaign. Thank you, and God bless. Paid for by my campaign, Piton for U.S. Senate.
It's 8:38. Let's get an update on the roads, and we do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center this morning. This update on the roads is a service of Allstate. Are you a safe driver? Are you looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save at Allstate. Better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. Edens is fine on the inbound side. Kennedy heavy between Montrose and the Burn Circle, 46 in from O'Hare to downtown. Kennedy outbound, the flip trip 17 to the junction and 36 to O'Hare. 52 on the inbound Ike from 390 to the old post office. Northbound 55 heavy and slow due to a right lane being blocked with debris cleanup. A truck has dumped a load of rocks on 55 northbound between Route 126. Your delay extends all the way to the Veterans Memorial Toll Road, so drive with care there. Stevenson inbound 30 minutes in from 355 into DeSable Lakeshore Drive, while the Dan Ryan inbound is at 19 into the Burn Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, sunny and nice on a high of 85. Low of 66 overnight with a chance of a late evening shower. 69 right now at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560 The Answer.
America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Oh, good. Hillary Clinton is back in the news.
Oh, maybe she'll run again in 2024.
I hope so. She was on with Gayle King on CBS this morning because she went to law school with Clarence Thomas. So
she knows everything, right?
She thinks she does, apparently. She thinks she knows Clarence Thomas. And so her assessment of Clarence Thomas in the light of his majority opinion in Dobbs was this.
Justice Thomas has sort of floated that out there about contraceptive rights, contraception, and about same-sex marriages. But other justices have pushed back to say, no, he's really sort of on his own with that.
Well,
Don't believe that?
Well, he may be on his own, but he's signaling, as he often did. You know, I went to law school with him. Mm-hmm. He's been a person of grievance for as long as I've known him. Resentment, grievance, anger. And he has signaled in the past to lower courts, to state legislatures, to find cases, pass laws, get them up. I may not win the first, the second, or the third time, but we're going to keep at it.
So you're saying people pay attention to
yes,
this?
The people he is speaking to, which is the, right-wing, very conservative judges and justices and state legislatures. And the thing that there's so many things about it that are deeply distressing, but women are going to die, Gail. Women will die.
There we go.
Just, hyperbole, where you're all going to die.
Yeah. How many women die?
Same with COVID, you're all going to die.
How many women die when there's 1.5 million abortions every year? Something, though, that she said, he is a person of grievance and angry. I don't know if you've read his autobiography, My Grandfather's Son. But if Clarence Thomas were to be a man of grievance in the way that Hillary Clinton means that term, then who would his grievance be with?
The world? I mean, what is she talking about?
His grievance would be ostensibly be the same as the grievances of the left. This is somebody, excuse me, he's 74 years old. He knows what Jim Crow was like. He knows what poverty in Georgia was like. He knows separate drinking fountains and institutional racism. So if he is a man of grievance, then why doesn't he have the same grievances as Hillary Clinton and all her identitarian friends? Yeah, in point of fact, that isn't Clarence Thomas at all. Not in how he considers himself in his autobiography, not in his work product over the last, just even take his time on the court, over the last 25 plus years. This is what the left does, though. They project onto their opponents who they actually are. And no one is more ready to do that than one Hillary Clinton. For another perspective, since Dobbs is brought up here, I thought this was important. Carol Swain, who would be now an ideological fellow traveler of Clarence Thomas, she didn't start out that way, Carol Swain is a professor emeritus, both Princeton and Vanderbilt. She's part of Bob Woodson's 1776 project. She writes about Dobbs. I'm among the more than 60 million women who terminated an unwanted pregnancy after the Roe v. Wade decision. It's a decision I quickly came to regret. Younger version of myself reasoned that if it were illegal, it must be okay. After all, the purpose of government was to protect the general welfare of the people, so how naive was my reasoning? I'm a bit reflective today because I know firsthand the shame and guilt that often comes from abortion decisions that women make with incomplete and sometimes false information. When I had my abortion, I was in my early 20s and was already the mother of 2 children that were born during my teenage years and during a teen marriage. It was a secret I kept for more than 20 years. The abortion was one of those dark actions I stuffed deep inside myself and pretended didn't happen. It was only after my Christian conversion experience in the late 1990s I was able to gain emotional release. I shared my story with my children and friends before eventually sharing the decision with the world through my writings. And she goes on to say, after my abortion, I quickly became pregnant again as if to replace the life of the child I had killed. The pregnancy ended in miscarriage, which frequently happens after an abortion. I was never able to give birth again. And she just goes on to talk about her conversion and the importance of what the pro-life movement that she's a part of must do now. Carol Swain, again, Princeton, Vanderbilt. She's also a black woman, if you don't know who Carol Swain is, for all this talk about how black women are going to be disproportionately negatively impacted by the decisions made at the state level to restrict abortion. So just other voices that you're not going to hear except on shows like ours that you should hear because they're informed both experientially as well as intellectually, as well as voices that you're going to hear everywhere that are the opposite, like Hillary Clinton. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Matthew Schmitz, founder and editor at Compact Magazine. Matthew, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So, just start with Hillary because, I don't know, it's easy target, it's fun. So her characterization of Clarence Thomas and what's really going on here, and then, again, quick reversion to the mean of the talking points, women are going to die.
Yeah, well, the left has always really despised Clarence Thomas from the very beginning. They've called him the dumbest justice. They've now they're calling him someone who has grievances, and in addition to other insults that they've hurled at him. And I think this is a great moment for America. It's a great moment for the court. It's definitely a vindication for Clarence Thomas, who has long understood the wrongness of Roe v. Wade. And he is really restoring faith in our constitutional order, that we have courts that can responsibly say what the Constitution is. He has struck a blow against the idea that the right to abortion, the right to kill your own unborn child, is somehow enshrined in the founding document of our nation. That's what the left believes. It's what Clinton believes. And that's basically saying that America is founded on the right to kill the most vulnerable people in our society. And the Supreme Court last week said, no, that's a lie.
The reaction from the pro-abortion left in some quarters, the violence I'm talking about specifically, since the draft opinion of Dobbs was leaked to the release of the actual opinion on Friday, we had a man arrested for on an attempted murder charge against a police officer. This in Los Angeles. You had St. Coleman Catholic Church was burned to the ground, suspected arson, in addition to crisis pregnancy centers being firebombed and many of the culprits being nice enough to leave very graphic messages at the offices of these crisis pregnancy centers or pro-life advocacy, pro-family advocacy groups to let them know.
If abortions aren't safe, they aren't either.
Right, just what they think of them.
Yeah, here in New York where I live, all around the streets, little posters have been stuck to stickers have been stuck to things that say, every city, every town, burn the courthouse down. these are put up in response to Roe v. Wade. So there's the threat of violence. I attended the very, very large, tens of thousands of people protesting the Dobbs decision in New York on Friday night. I wanted to go see what was happening, and I wrote about that for Compact Magazine. And for all of this kind of expression, we've seen certainly less violence than in the George Floyd riots in the summer of 2020. That's very good. Probably has something to do with the fact that the people who are most pro-abortion in this country tend to be upper-class women, and though that demographic is not the demographic most likely to go into the streets and actually cause mass violence. So I think that's why we haven't seen anything like the George Floyd reaction yet. But we have seen, certainly, discrete acts of violence against pro-life centers, and also a broader justification of violence and an encouragement of violence on the left.
There's an encouragement, too, in rural, to tackle churches in rural America. Did you see that?
Yes, absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind with this is that the media plays a role. You're in the media, I'm in the media, so I don't say everyone in the media, but the liberal press plays a very large role in the incitement of violence of this type. In Canada last year, we saw dozens of churches burned after the media pushed false reports about Indian children being secretly buried at these residential schools where Indians used to be educated on reservations. And so hundreds, certainly dozens, and I think it may have been hundreds of churches were burned down because of these false reports spread by the media, and that's why there's a lot of dissatisfaction with our media today.
Get your perspective on the left and the left's general response. Even if it's not violent, it is hysterical and unhinged in so many quarters, and as you said, sort of inciting and rationalizing in that vein. It seems to me this is the first loss that they have suffered in the last 50 years. The back and forth of electoral politics is one thing. This is a religious cult, these new Marxists, that, their politics is their religion. They are their gods. And one of their sacraments was just taken away. And frankly, the reaction, in addition to the underlying truth that they never made the sale to the American people on this issue, speaks to how weak their religion is. And that weakness, I think, leads to a feeling of vulnerability that leads to this hysterical reaction. They don't want you to know what a paper tiger they are.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I was very struck by when I went to kind of report on the abortion protests in New York on Friday night was all the signs people held up saying, I have fewer rights than guns do, which isn't true. It's very easy to obtain an abortion here in New York. It is very, very difficult to get a license for a firearm. It takes at least 6 months. It requires spending more than $400. It's a very involved process. The Constitution guarantees a right to bear firearms, and if you read that document, there's nothing in there about abortion. But the more kind of fundamental thing I want to point out is we've seen a broader move to define certain political views as hateful, and what that means is that expressing certain views is going to become increasingly frowned upon by the authorities, by the law. The Attorney General of California, after the Supreme Court decision striking down some restrictions on gun ownership, issued a proposal saying that people who are guilty of hate or racism should be denied gun licenses. And their guilt for hate or racism could be determined by reviewing their social media accounts. Mm-hmm. Now, the point here is not that hate or racism is good, but who gets to make that determination? That's a political determination made by the left, and they're going to use those kinds of categories to deny rights to people who don't agree with their agenda. And basically, it'll mean that Some people are going to have the rights to bear arms. They're going to have the rights to go into the streets. They're going to have the rights to say whatever they want. And then other Americans will be denied those rights because they're considered hateful racists.
And the point here is that they need to shout you down. And if they can't shout you down, meaning you won't stand down, then they will shut you up, and they'll use whatever tools of force at their disposal to do so. That seems they understand they cannot win on the merits. Thus, they have to shout you down. Thus, they have to disengage. Thus, they have to try to marginalize and isolate you. And because they control these cultural institutions and so many communication channels, they can do that in a significant way. But once they start feeling vulnerable, then you see just the lengths they're willing to go to shut you down and shut you up.
Yes. And with the violence you mentioned and the threats of violence, if the government prosecutes very heavily any kind of law breaking done by the right, say it's illegal to trespass into the Capitol building, and they hit people who've done that with very, very harsh penalties, but they let, say, people who have burned courthouses down or thrown Molotov cocktails into police cars and the George Floyd riots, say they let those people off with a slap on the wrist. That's creating a legal landscape where basically they're encouraging one kind of violence, and they're encouraging the destruction of peace and order in our society, and so that they don't have to even explicitly directly punish the right. They can just sort of, encourage left-wing violence that is then wielded against normal people who are seeking law, order, and justice.
He is Matthew Schmitz, founder and editor at Compact Magazine. Matthew, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Republican Mark Carroll is running for Congress in the 11th. Why? He loves America. Civilization is facing threats, and the people are standing and saying enough. Mark's right here with us. He's a Hillsdale College graduate, a former congressional staffer, and is endorsed by Illinois Family Action. Mark Carroll is exactly who needs to represent voters in Washington. Mark knows that children are the future. He'll protect them from indoctrination with bold proposals like abolishing the Department of Education. Mark will fight the harmful policies causing inflation like the outrageous prices at the pump and use his leadership skills to rally support and get the economy back on track. Carroll in Congress will bring safety back to the streets. He'll support anti-crime, pro-law enforcement legislation. Join Mark Carroll for Congress with your support and vote to stop the left from ruining the country we love. That's Mark Carroll for Congress in the 11th. Last on the ballot, first in your heart, vote Mark Joseph Carroll for Congress.
The following is a paid political announcement.
What are you watching?
Those governor candidates accusing each other. It's awful. I've done my research and I'm voting for Gary Rabine. Gary Rabine talks about real issues, slashing property taxes, loosening restrictions on businesses, and supporting law enforcement. Rabine built one of America's largest paving companies from scratch.
I'm Gary Rabine. I can and will beat Pritzker. Let's turn Illinois around. It's Rabine time.
Paid for by Rabine for governor.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Remember this name, Kathy Salvi. Recent Illinois polls show conservatives are rallying behind Kathy Salvi for Senate. Kathy Salvi's a trusted conservative with a long record of protecting the unborn and Second Amendment rights. And Kathy Salvi is the Republicans' best chance at defeating Duckworth.